In my previous life, I successfully obtained a marriage certificate with Gu Yanli. My parents cut ties with me because of this. Not long after the wedding, Gu Yanli had an affair. Watching him and his mistress being all lovey-dovey with each other, I was determined to wear them down, to ensure the mistress remained just that, a mistress, and that their relationship would forever be condemned by society. But it wasn't until the moment before my death that I finally realized, from the very beginning, I had been nothing more than a pawn in his schemes. When I realized I had been reborn, I found myself standing at the doorstep of Gu Yanli's residence, confronted by Gu Yanli suddenly emerging from the doorway. My emotions were in turmoil. I just tossed out, "I just remembered something urgent, I have to go." I hurried away without a backward glance, ignoring Gu Yanli's calls behind me. My landlady Aunt Wang looked puzzled when she saw me return. "Xia. Didn't you go with Xiaogu to get your marriage certificate? Why are you back?" It was then that I remembered, this very day in my previous life. 1. I had been so overjoyed about getting married to Gu Yanli that I had told Aunt Wang in advance. I parked my bicycle and turned to face Aunt Wang. "Auntie, I'd decided not to register the marriage with Gu Yanli." Aunt Wang immediately set down her water dipper and wiped her hands on her apron. "Why? Did something happen?" "It's nothing. I just realized I don't have feelings for him anymore." Aunt Wang was so stunned she couldn't speak for a long while. "Child, marriage is no trifling matter. True, marriage is no game, but getting a marriage certificate with Gu Yanli was the greatest folly of all." She recalled Gu Yanli, tall, handsome, the kind of man young wives would gush over. "Everyone says I've struck gold, someone like me with no family background to speak of, no social status whatsoever. Just a low-level construction worker whose only redeeming quality is his looks. How could I ever be worthy of Gu Yanli, who's already been promoted to squad leader with such a promising future ahead of him?" "Auntie, this is the result of my careful consideration. Besides, my parents don't support our marriage." Aunt Wang fell silent, then finally let out a sigh and patted my hand. "As long as you've thought it through, but marriage should have parents' approval, after all. Parents would never intentionally harm their own child." His words struck a painful chord in my heart. In my past life, I had cut ties with my loving parents for a man. I was utterly infatuated with Gu Yanli in my previous life. Despite my parents' objections, I stole our household register to marry Gu Yanli. After marriage, we shared a period of tender intimacy, but those blissful days were far too brief. When he learned I had cut ties with my family, I just smiled. Gu Yanli would call me heartless and accuse me of being an unfilial child. He was the one who talked me into stealing the household register for our marriage certificate. He was also the one who refused to pay the bride price and hold a wedding ceremony. My parents said he approached me with an ulterior motive from the very beginning. I defended him. Standing firmly by his side completely broke my parents' hearts. How could he have the nerve to turn around and blame me? I never would have imagined Gu Yanli would cheat. At that time, I was 7 months pregnant. The villagers told me Gu Yanli and Jiang Shuer were seeing each other, but I didn't believe it, until I saw them sitting intimately together. Gu Yanli gently fed Jiang Shuer with his chopsticks, until I saw Gu Yanli walk Jiang Shuer home and pull her into an embrace. I went into shock, had a massive hemorrhage, and the baby was born prematurely, by my hospital bed. Jiang Shuer was sobbing in Gu Yanli's arms. "This is all my fault. I shouldn't have been so selfish for Yanli's affection, causing your wife to go into early labor." Sob. I looked at my exceptionally tiny son lying beside me. Only one thought consumed my mind. Even if it kills me, I'll drag Gu Yanli down with me. Since they're so madly in love with each other, I'll make sure they never get to be together legitimately. I'll make sure they're forever scorned and carry that stigma for life. I endured this marriage through sheer grit and suffering. Endured until Gu Yanli was too exhausted to call me heartless. Endured until our son came of age. But when he grew up, not only did he fail to understand my struggles, he actually sided with his father and accused me of being selfish. "If it weren't for you, my dad and Aunt Jiang wouldn't have been subjected to so much public scorn, and people wouldn't call me a fatherless child." His words left me laughing in bitter disbelief. My heart turned cold at that very moment. In my son, I saw the same hypocritical cruelty as Gu Yanli, too. It was then that I suddenly began to question what meaning there was in all these years of perseverance. I felt completely deflated, my spirit broke, and I fell ill. That illness became the one I never recovered from. As my consciousness began to fade, I heard my son's cheers. "That's wonderful, Dad. Now you and Aunt Jiang can finally be together without any pretense." The voices of Gu Yanli and Jiang Shuer could also be heard. I only married her back then for her status. I thought she'd be easy to control, but who knew the fool would cut ties with her family. at least she gave me a son, those old fogies won't dare disown their own grandson, so that's how it was his so-called love for me nothing but a lie from the very beginning. On a gloomy rainy day, I drew my last breath. In my final moments, I found myself utterly alone in the suffocating silence. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing at Gu Yanli's doorstep. That was the day I'd stolen the household register, ready to go get our marriage certificate with him. Thank goodness we hadn't registered yet. There was still time to fix this. Pulling myself together, I grabbed the household register and hurried home by car. I'm no ordinary factory girl, in fact. Gu Yanli's rank as a squad leader isn't even worthy of my status, yet Gu Yanli always carried himself with immense pride around me. To spare his ego, I'd been concealing my true identity all along. Little did I know, he'd been aware of who I really was this entire time. I remember the words I heard before I died. Not long after we got married, Gu Yanli kept pushing me to get in touch with my family. After I refused, his true colors came out. 3. It turns out Dad was right. My father once told me that Gu Yanli was two-faced, with nothing but schemes in his eyes. In my past life, I was completely taken in by Gu Yanli's smooth talk. I simply refused to believe what my father said. Looking back now, I was hopelessly foolish. Seeing my parents again filled me with overwhelming guilt. In the name of love, I ended up hurting both my parents and myself. I can't imagine how heartbroken my parents must have been when I died in my previous life. My father sat authoritatively on the sofa, his face stern as he stared at the household register laid out before him. I knelt on the ground with my head bowed, not daring to speak. I thought he would scold me harshly. To my surprise, he only let out a sigh. Fine, since you're so set on marrying him. I quickly cut my father off. Dad, I won't marry him. I'd marry anyone in this world but him. Not long ago, I was crying and begging to marry Gu Yanli. Yet after just a few days apart, I'd suddenly changed my mind. But the determination in my eyes at this moment felt undeniably real. Do you really mean that? You're not lying to Mom and Dad, are you? Tears instantly welled up in my eyes. They used to believe everything I said. I must have made too much of a scene to marry Gu Yanli. They're worried I might pull something again. Seeing me cry, Mom came over and held me. Mom, Dad, I'm not lying to you. I really won't marry him. He's not a good man. That day, I talked with my parents for a long time. I recounted my past life as if it were a dream. Mom held me tight and wept uncontrollably. Dad kept sighing over and over. In that case, come back to your father. If you want to start from the bottom, start right here by my side. Alright, I'll do everything as you say. Dad, this time, I didn't hesitate at all. Once again, I returned to the small rented courtyard. Gu Yanli was already waiting there. Seeing me return, he hurried over to greet me. Shashya, you're finally back. Aunt Wang mentioned you went home these past couple of days. How are your parents doing? Before leaving, I still needed to hand over my work. To avoid any complications, I had to suppress my emotions and responded with a quiet and a forced smile. Aunt Wang emerged from the neighboring courtyard, tossed out the dirty water from her basin, and gave me a nod. I knew she hadn't told Gu Yanli about my reluctance to get married. Shashya, you're back. Young Gu has been coming by to wait for you whenever he has a spare moment these past couple of days. Thank you, Auntie. My parents asked me to send you their regards. I pressed a box of pastries into Aunt Wang's hands. No need for such formalities, dear, and do send my regards to your parents. She glanced at Gu Yanli before continuing to speak to me. I'm always home if you need anything. Just call and I'll come right over. I didn't miss the shadow that crossed Gu Yanli's eyes. I responded with a light laugh. Gu Yanli followed me through the door. Shashya, didn't you just go back? Why are you heading there again? I set down the things I'd been carrying and went to the kitchen to boil water. Yeah, heading back now. Still got things to take care of. Drew water, scrubbed the pot, then filled it. Gu Yanli stood by watching. He didn't sit beside me until I settled down to start the fire. Shashya, I feel like you've been acting strange since you came back from your trip. Did something happen with your parents? No, I'm just tired from the long journey. Only then did Gu Yanli let out a sigh of relief. He hesitated before continuing. Shashya, you brought the household register, right? How about we go get our marriage license tomorrow? I added another piece of firewood to the stove. Looking at him, I said, I still want to try to get my parents' approval. Could you give me a little more time? A flicker of irritation passed through Gu Yanli's eyes, but it was quickly replaced by tenderness. Alright, though I'm already dying to marry you, but waiting a few more days is fine. Shashya, just don't keep me waiting too long. Okay, you know you're all I think about, day and night. That's just how Gu Yanli is. Sweet talk rolls right off his tongue. But just now, When I was carrying all those things, he didn't even think to help me with them. I was working, and he just stood there watching, seeing through it all. I realized his acting wasn't even that good, yet he managed to fool me alone. Love and the lack of it have always been so obvious. Okay, I'll get it done as soon as possible, I replied. After Gu Yanli left, I went to the engineering command post and submitted my resignation. My supervisor was the only person here who knew my true identity. Of course, now Gu Yanli knew as well, though that was between us. He knew my family didn't approve of my relationship with Gu Yanli. He knows all the foolish things I've done for Gu Yanli. He's worked with my father for many years, just like my father. He immediately saw through Gu Yanli's true nature, but as an outsider, it wasn't his place to interfere. When he heard I was resigning, he asked me curiously, if you leave, will Gu Yanli be leaving too? He doesn't know I'm leaving. Sharp as ever, he accepted my resignation letter with a smile. Your father knows best. When I returned, I saw Aunt Wang standing at the gate of the small courtyard, craning her neck to peer inside. 5. Spotting my return, Aunt Wang quickly pulled me over to her house. She lowered her voice and said, there's a woman in your courtyard. Xiaogu brought her. She glanced toward the small courtyard, then looked back at me with an indignant expression. Who knows what her relationship with Xiaogu is? She kept calling him Brother Yanli, Brother Yanli. Oh, that voice of hers was so sickly sweet. And that Xiaogu, he was clearly enjoying it. One moment he was helping her with this, the next moment with that. The woman stood by his side, showering him with praise and occasionally wiping his sweat with her handkerchief. The more I look at it, the more something feels off. If you say they're relatives, it doesn't seem right. More like a seductive vixen, Aunt Wang said with certainty. I thought of Jiang Shuer. Auntie, I'll go check it out. Entering the courtyard, I saw a woman standing at the door of the adjacent room. She wore her hair in 2 braids. She was dressed in a fashionable yellow dress. On her feet were a pair of leather shoes. She giggled behind her hand at something Gu Yanli said from inside the room. Hearing the door open, she turned her head, spotting me. She froze for a second before quickly putting on a smile. Brother Yanli, we have a visitor. Seeing that face I knew like the back of my hand, my heart was in turmoil. Who else could this woman be but Jiang Shuer? I had originally thought Gu Yanli started his affair with Jiang Shuer after I got pregnant, but now it seems they've known each other all along. They might have already gotten together by then. Hearing me return, Gu Yanli hurried out from the room. He had a smile on his face. Xia, you're back. Come here, let me introduce you. This is my fiancée Lin Xia, and this is my cousin Jiang Shuer. Cousin, 4, the kind of cousin you take to bed. Watching Gu Yanli lie through his teeth without batting an eye, I cursed myself again for being so blind. Overhearing Gu Yanli's introduction, Jiang Shuer subtly curled her lips in disdain. So it's Sister Xia. Please just call me Shuer, Sister Xia. Faced with her cloyingly sweet smile, I took a deep breath and responded with a smile of my own. Hello, Lin Xia, you can just call me by my name. Jiang Shuer gave an awkward smile. Alright, I'll do as Sister Xia says. Oh, I mean, Lin Xia. I glanced toward the next room. Gu Yanli quickly explained. Xia, I'm worried about your safety living here alone. It just so happens my cousin came to visit, and since you have an empty room, I let her move in. She's used to farm work and is great at household chores. From now on, she'll handle all the housework and take care of you on my behalf. I glanced at Jiang Shuer's alabaster skin and delicate hands. She clearly had never done a day of farm work in her life. I wondered what schemes Gu Yanli and Jiang Shuer were plotting, so I agreed to let her stay. Gu Yanli continued helping Jiang Shuer pack her luggage. I went into the kitchen to start preparing the meal. Jiang Shuer stood at the kitchen doorway, offering to help, but her feet seemed rooted to the spot. Not moving an inch. Sister Lin Xia, how long have you known Brother Yanli? Do you really understand him? I looked at Jiang Shuer with confusion. Gu Yanli was eager to marry me. Inviting Jiang Shuer here was definitely not meant to sabotage my own efforts. Now, seeing the unfriendly look in Jiang Shuer's eyes as she stared at me, it's almost as if they're here to compete with me for Gu Yanli's attention. Either way, I just need to wait for their next move. I only cooked enough for myself, though before leaving, I'd rather not stir up any trouble. But I refused to play housemaid for that wretched couple who made my past life miserable. Gu Yanli sat at the table, staring at the empty space before him. Meanwhile, I kept eating from my own bowl without even asking if he wanted any. Then I glanced at Jiang Shuer standing by the door, fuming with her eyes rolled back. He let out an exaggerated sigh. He waved Jiang Shuer away with a dismissive hand gesture. Then he tilted his head and looked at me. Xia. Are you upset that I brought Shuer to stay here without asking you first? I kept eating without saying a word. Gu Yanli slapped himself across the face. He thought I'd be concerned, but I just kept focusing on my meal. The light in Gu Yanli's eyes dimmed. Shush ya. I shouldn't have made arrangements without discussing it with you first. I just thought she could take good care of you on my behalf. Sigh. I guess I was mistaken. The thought of you living here alone, without your parents around and no one to look after you, makes me terribly anxious. If we were married, I could properly take care of you. I remained silent and continued eating at my own pace. Since my rebirth, I've seen this man for exactly who he is. His promises to take care of me are just empty words, yet in reality, they've never done a thing for me. If anything, they're always showing up at my place, sitting around waiting to be fed like today. After finishing the meal on the table, I set down my chopsticks and wiped my mouth with a handkerchief. Don't worry about me. All these years with my parents gone, haven't I managed just fine on my own? I gathered the dishes and was about to wash them in the courtyard. Gu Yanli followed behind me. Is there any comparison between being cared for and being left to fend for yourself? Alright then, I'll give you a chance to look after me. You can do the dishes. I set the bowl down in front of him. Gu Yanli glanced at the dishes in front of him, then looked at me. Though he wore a smile, I could still sense the reluctance in his heart. Even during the happiest period of our marriage in my previous life, he had never voluntarily done housework. 6. Alright, I'll take care of this. You go sit down and rest. I obediently did as I was told, carrying a stool. I sat by the doorway and contentedly fanned myself with a palm leaf fan. Watching Gu Yanli help me with chores for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I felt nothing but contempt. With just 2 or 3 bowls to wash, Gu Yanli made such a clatter. It was as if he were deliberately banging them around for my benefit. I accidentally broke a bowl. He gave me a wounded look. I sat there calmly, ignoring him. It's just a broken bowl. He had no choice but to keep his head down and continue washing the dishes. After finishing the dishes, he put them away. I pointed at the floor. The floor is dirty, give it a sweep. As he tried to approach, I froze mid-movement. Seeing I wasn't going to change my mind, he had no choice but to pick up the broom and start sweeping. When he swept near me, I moved my stool aside to make way. I never felt the same tenderness for him as before, nor did I volunteer to take on his chores. Seeing that I meant business, Gu Yanli intensified his efforts. He swept the courtyard with such force that dust flew everywhere. I went inside and closed the door. Through the crack in the door, I saw Gu Yanli's face contorted with rage, but he quickly masked it, afraid I had seen his expression. Moments later, I heard voices coming from the next room. Sure enough, it wasn't long before Jiang Shuer took over the yard sweeping duties. I scoffed inwardly. A simple test was all it took to reveal Gu Yanli's selfish nature, how he only ever cared for himself. His acting was far from convincing, but love had blinded me to the truth. Just as Gu Yanli knocked on the door, I was inside, packing my things. Once I wrap up the handover at work over the next couple of days, I can leave right away. Shush ya. I'm taking Shuer out to grab a bite. Do you want me to bring anything back for you? My hands kept busy packing things away. Outside, Gu Yanli was clearly dissatisfied with my curt reply, though he seemed to think I was still upset. The two of them didn't return until late that night. I turned off my lights early. In my previous life, I only enjoyed a few months of peace after marrying Gu Yanli. The following years were filled with constant arguments. I spent night after night lying awake. My resentment and lingering love for Gu Yanli tormented me endlessly. On top of that, I hemorrhaged while giving birth to my son. Though I survived the ordeal, my health was completely broken. Now I've returned with memories from my past life. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep. I fell asleep the moment my head hit the pillow. When I opened my eyes again, dawn was breaking. I got up and got dressed. The instant I opened my door, I saw the door next to mine opening as well. I shook my head. Gu Yanli, peering furtively, locked eyes with me. Gu Yanli glanced around the room, then back at me. A flicker of panic crossed his face. Shush ya. Let me explain. I nodded. Alright, go ahead. I'm listening. Gu Yanli jogged over to my side. He tried to take my hand, but I crossed my arms and leaned against the doorframe. Last night, I took Shuer out for dinner. We stayed out too late and had some drinks. Shuer was worried it wouldn't be safe for me to walk home in the dark, so she let me stay in her room. Of course, I slept on the floor. Besides, Shuer is my cousin. Nothing could have happened between us. Seeing me like this, Gu Yanli felt uneasy. You don't suspect me. In the dim light of the room, I could still see the fading love bite on his neck. I let out a soft chuckle. What should I suspect you of? haven't you already explained everything? Gu Yanli sneered. Oh, right. To avoid raising my suspicion, he couldn't press the matter further. Shashya, you're up so early. Actually, the cafeteria's open now. I'll grab some food, wait for me. With that, he hurried out the door. Soon after, the door next to mine opened again. Jiang Shuer emerged in her pajamas. She didn't seem the least bit surprised to see me. She must have overheard Gu Yanli's conversation with me. She watched with keen interest as I calmly went about my morning routine, washing up, lighting the stove, and preparing breakfast. Seeing that I showed no intention of acknowledging her presence, she tugged at the collar of her nightgown, pulling it downward, revealing the swell of her breasts. Dawn was breaking. Even without the lights, the dense constellation of love bites covering her skin was clearly visible. The jealous rage I had anticipated never surfaced. She found the whole situation utterly tedious. Lin Xia, I refuse to believe you don't know what happened between Yanli and me last night. 7. I deliberately played dumb. Oh, what did you do? Aren't you his cousin? Don't tell me you violated national laws by engaging in incestuous acts. You, Jiang Shuer flushed crimson with rage. She took a deep breath and brushed the stray hairs from her forehead. She let out a derisive snort. Cousin, you actually believe that? Let me be clear, Yanli is mine. We've been together for a long time. I suggest you back off while you still can. I couldn't help but find it amusing. If Gu Yanli knew Jiang Shuer said these things behind his back, I wonder if he'd be furious enough to drop dead. I kept busy with my work, not even glancing at Jiang Shuer. Great. May you two live happily together for 100 years, hope you're stuck with each other forever. She's the only one who treats Gu Yanli like some priceless treasure. In this lifetime, I'm bowing out early, let the scumbag mess with her first. When Gu Yanli returned with breakfast, I'd already started eating. He had no choice but to bring the breakfast to Jiang Shuer's room. Then he wanted to sit down and eat with me. I quickly shoveled all the food into my mouth. I stood up and started clearing the dishes. Caught red-handed so early in the morning, he looked a bit guilty, probably still trying to figure me out. Little did he expect I'd call him out without hesitation. I shook my head. His eyes darkened as he stared at my retreating figure. After clearing the dishes, I stood by the door, lock in hand. He looked at Gu Yanli sitting inside the room, having his meal. He signaled that he was going to lock the door. After a brief moment of disbelief from Gu Yanli, he still came out carrying his lunchbox. I locked the door and immediately started pushing my bike away. 8. Gu Yanli hurriedly called out, Shashya, wait for me, let's go together. I ignored him and just kept cycling on my own. Halfway down the road, Gu Yanli caught up with us, bringing Jiang Shuer on his motorcycle. With her arms wrapped around Gu Yanli's waist, Jiang Shuer shot me a triumphant look. In my past life, the mere sight of Jiang Shuer would send me into hysterics. I despised Gu Yanli for betraying our marriage vows. I can't understand why he would cheat when I loved him so deeply. Having faced death once now, I've come to realize Gu Yanli's love was never genuine. My feelings for him have completely vanished. When I no longer loved him, I stopped caring who he flirted with. So when I saw the triumphant look Jiang Shuer gave me, I found it utterly ridiculous. Jiang Shuer's presence kept Gu Yanli from exchanging more than a few words with me during the entire journey. The handover of work was completed swiftly. Wrapping up by mid-afternoon, I made another call home. Dad decided to come pick me up personally tomorrow. I'm going back to tell Aunt Wan that I'm moving out. I had just stepped out of the command center. I ran into Gu Yanli head-on, seeing me come out. He walked up to meet me. Shashya, look what I got for you. It's the peach blossom pastry from Li's shop, my all-time favorite. They're quite hard to come by since they make so few. I suppose I haven't been treating Gu Yanli the same way these past couple of days. He's been putting off the marriage talk, and now he's getting anxious. Honestly, I'm not that fond of this thing. It's just because he likes it. I naturally gravitate toward everything he enjoys. Even so, I took it from him, and that peach blossom pastry was the least of what he owed me. I could tell he had something to say, so I waited for him to speak. He glanced at his watch, then at the sky. Shashya, it's still early, why don't we go get our marriage license today? As for your parents, I'll personally apologize to them after we're officially married. His eyes were filled with anticipation as he looked at me. I let out a bitter laugh, utterly appalled by his audacity. He had just crawled out of his cousin's bed this morning. You're already trying to get into my bed tonight. What's the rush? My dad is coming tomorrow. We'll talk after he gets here. But, what if your dad doesn't agree? Don't worry, my dad will be fine with it. My affirmative answer brought a sense of calm to Gu Yanli's anxious heart. On our way back, he kept making small talk with me about this and that. It felt like old times again as I chatted with him happily. We returned to the courtyard laughing and chatting all the way. Jiang Shuer witnessed the whole scene. Her eyes burned into me with bitter resentment. I could feel her stare drilling holes through me. I responded with a sweet, innocent smile. It's the last day, and I can't be bothered to cook. Gu Yanli brought dinner from the cafeteria. Jiang Shuer was invited by Gu Yanli to join them for the meal, all to maintain his good image. Gu Yanli kept bragging about his past heroic exploits. Every now and then, he'd give Jiang Shuer a few kicks under the table, though reluctant. Jiang Shuer had no choice but to play along. By the end of the meal, Gu Yanli was feeling pretty pleased with himself again. He pointed at the dishes on the table and commanded Jiang Shuer, "Shuer, the only reason I let you move in was to take care of your future sister-in-law. You can do the dishes tonight." Jiang Shuer shot me a resentful glare before sullenly gathering the dishes. I went to Aunt Wang's place and told her I'd be leaving. We agreed that I'd leave behind whatever I couldn't take with me, though reluctant to see me go. Aunt Wang didn't say much. I just never thought I'd be leaving so soon. By the time I returned to the courtyard, Gu Yanli had already left. Jiang Shuer was waiting for me in the courtyard. She saw me come in. She glared at me with resentment. "Lin Xia, I'm warning you to stay away from Yanli. He's already slept with me. Are you really trying to steal my man?" In my past life, I must have been brainless, I suppose, but I have no such plans in this lifetime, though I won't make things easy for her either. So what if I steal him from you? You saw it yourself. Yanli cares about me. To cheer me up, he made a special trip to town today just to buy my favorite peach blossom pastries from Li's bakery. Oh, that reminds me, Jiang Shuer was about to lose her temper when I cut her off. Tomorrow morning around 8. My father will personally come to evaluate Yanli, barring any surprises. He'll give his blessing to our marriage. Sigh, Yanli is just so desperate to marry me. This afternoon he came over to discuss getting our marriage certificate. I've decided we'll go get it done tomorrow afternoon. What can I say when he loves me this much? My sweetly poisonous words drained all color from Jiang Shuer's face. I left her standing there without another glance. I went inside, closed the door, and continued packing my things. After packing the luggage I'm taking with me, everything left behind has to stay. Auntie Wang will come by to clear out the rest tomorrow after I'm gone. In the middle of the night, I heard the neighbor's door open. 9. I listened carefully and realized Jiang Shuer had gone out. I slept soundly again until morning. I glanced into Jiang Shuer's room. She wasn't in her room, so she probably didn't come back last night. After breakfast, I gradually moved my belongings to Aunt Wang's house. Then I sat in the yard waiting for my father to pick me up. Just after 8 o'clock, the village suddenly came alive with activity. I followed the bustling crowd. A crowd of villagers had gathered outside Gu Yanli's house, buzzing with heated discussion. Aunt Wang noticed my arrival and hurried over to my side. "Oh Lin Xia, thank heavens you didn't marry that young Gu. That boy is downright despicable." Others nearby saw me approaching and closed in around us. Most folks in the village knew that Gu Yanli and I were dating. On top of that, Gu Yanli kept hinting to people that we were about to get married. The whole village was waiting for our wedding candies. I'd assumed the woman in the house was me. I was just thinking how careless Gu Yanli and I had been to make such a scene. Now when people see me, all they see is a walking symbol of betrayal. They can't help but feel sorry for me. How could Xiaogu make such a terrible mistake? He was about to marry you, yet he still got involved with another woman. As much as I wanted to put on a heartbroken act, Aunt Wang, who already knew I wouldn't marry Gu Yanli, was there, so I couldn't overdo it. I could only furrow my brow and listen as everyone chimed in with their opinions. It turned out that after my provocation last night, Jiang Shuer had panicked. She was afraid Gu Yanli would actually marry me. So she secretly went to see Gu Yanli last night. That's why there's such a crowd gathered here now. Because the two of them were making quite a racket in the room early this morning. People passing by, drawn by the commotion, quickly hid beneath the windows to eavesdrop. More and more people gathered around. The village ne'er-do-well, getting antsy from eavesdropping, quietly pried open a window. The two naked figures on the bed inside were thus exposed to everyone's view. The two in bed were so terrified they huddled under the covers, afraid to come out. After the village chief arrived, he chased away the gang of troublemakers from the window. Only then did the two inside have a chance to put their clothes on. For some reason, the two of them got into an argument. From what I gathered, Jiang Shuer had drugged Gu Yanli. When Gu Yanli came out of the room and saw me standing in the crowd, he panicked. With so many people watching, I couldn't really act properly. So I just turned and walked away. Gu Yanli hurriedly chased after me. "Xia xia, xia xia, let me explain, it's not what you think. I completely ignored him and ran forward because I saw my dad coming to pick me up. Shashya, please, just hear me out. Annoyed, I stopped in my tracks. I turned to him with an icy stare. Explain what? Are you saying all those witnesses were hallucinating, or that you didn't sleep with Jiang Shuer? My words only made Gu Yanli more frantic. No, let me explain. It was Jiang Shuer, she drugged me, yes, she slipped me something, otherwise I would never have made such a scene with her in broad daylight. Shashya, you have to believe me. I love you. You know my greatest wish has always been to marry you. Please believe me. I lowered my head and let out a scornful laugh. When I looked up again, my eyes were icy cold. Gu Yanli, do you really think I'm that gullible? Your cousin. Is Jiang Shuer truly your cousin? Are you marrying me because you love me? Or just to get your hands on my family's fortune? Gu Yanli froze at these words. He stared at me in disbelief, but then again, he was a scumbag who'd been manipulating people for years. He quickly composed himself. He'd always believed that as long as he refused to admit anything, no one could touch him. No, Shashya, listen to me. Shuer is my cousin, a distant cousin. She knows my mom, she knows my dad. She even knows all these stories from my childhood. How could she not be my cousin? Shashya. Do you really think I'm after your family's inheritance? How could you see me in such a terrible light? Can't you see how much I love you? Can't you feel it? How could you misunderstand me like this? It breaks my heart. He put on a heartbroken expression. If I didn't know his true nature, I would have been completely fooled by his act. Gu Yanli, do you really think your sweet talk can still deceive me? You slept with Jiang Shuer the night before last, didn't you? The hickey on your neck. The marks on Jiang Shuer, she showed me everything. You can't lie to me. Besides, if you truly loved me, why would you ask me to secretly marry you behind my parents' backs? Gu Yanli still wanted to explain. Don't feed me that nonsense about loving me too much. I'm not buying it. My father, sitting in the car behind us, heard every word of my argument with Gu Yanli. The driver he had sent to gather information also returned just then. Seeing that Gu Yanli was still trying to sweet-talk me and wouldn't leave me alone, my father got out of the car and punched Gu Yanli right in the face. Sprawled on the ground, Gu Yanli finally noticed my father's arrival. He immediately went limp and collapsed completely. He knew any words would be useless now. In his heart, he utterly loathed Jiang Shuer. If it weren't for her, he would have successfully tricked me into getting a marriage certificate today. Now he started to resent me too. I used to be such an easy mark, just a few sweet words and I'd be completely fooled, but right at the critical moment, it's like I suddenly gained clarity. These past few days, he just couldn't figure it out. The other day, I stood at his doorstep, wondering why I couldn't bring myself to go in. That day, he was already home waiting for me. Just waiting for me to come back with the stolen household register. He immediately dragged me off to get our marriage certificate. When he saw me approaching his house through the window, he eagerly got dressed and waited, but for some reason, my hand froze just as I was about to knock. He had no choice but to come out and bump into me by chance. I never expected him to run off after just one thing I said. Gu Yanli was filled with regret. If only he had chased after me that day and properly comforted me, would they have gotten their marriage certificate by now? If only they had gotten their marriage license that day, he wouldn't have missed out on a fortune like this. The thought ate away at him. He stumbled upon the fact that project manager Wang was tight with a wealthy investor, and this wealthy man, I call him Dad. Meanwhile, I'm just an ordinary office worker. Yet I'm actually the heiress of a rich family. He keenly spotted the opportunity to make a fortune. At that moment, he was absolutely overjoyed, so he started getting close to me with a clear agenda. He even mapped out a detailed plan for it. What he never expected, though, was how easily I'd fall for it. All he did was sweet-talk me. He'd bring me some cheap snacks, and just like that, he had me willingly doing his laundry and cooking for him every day. He regrets it. If only he had sweet-talked me into stealing the household register earlier so we could have gotten married, until I got into my father's car and drove away. Gu Yanli remained rooted to the spot, watching the car disappear with bitter resentment. In the car, Dad was very pleased with how I handled things today. The reason he stayed in the car the whole time was because he wanted to hear what Gu Yanli and I talked about. If I was still stubbornly set on marrying Gu Yanli, he and his mother had no choice but to accept it. They just had to make different plans for my future. I didn't hear about Gu Yanli again until 2 years later. The whole scandal with him and Jiang Shuer had caused quite a stir back then. Jiang Shuer threw hysterical fits, pressuring him into marriage. In the end, he had no choice but to get the marriage certificate with Jiang Shuer. After marriage, Gu Yanli still clung to his get-rich-quick schemes, behind Jiang Shuer's back. He latched onto a wealthy older woman, even though he hid it well. Jiang Shuer still found out. Jiang Shuer made a bigger scene than I did. Not only did she cause Gu Yanli to lose his job, she also went around telling everyone that Gu Yanli was having an affair. Whistleblowing letters kept pouring into the police station, one after another. This went on for 2 years straight, until the government suddenly launched a crackdown. Gu Yanli, already notorious at the Public Security Bureau as a loose woman, became the prime example. Just to make life difficult for Jiang Shuer, Gu Yanli voluntarily confessed to his past affair with Jiang Shuer, and so Jiang Shuer was also taken into custody. For the past 2 years, I've been working my way up from the ground floor at my father's company. I've learned a great deal. 10. I've also encountered all sorts of people. Looking back at Gu Yanli now, he really doesn't measure up. During this time, my parents have lined up quite a few potential marriage candidates for me. I always keep a sliver of hope when it comes to matters of the heart. True love does exist in this world, but most of it withers away far too soon. Only career and money are truly dependable. They never betray you. Story 2. I was born into a wealthy family, but against my family's wishes, I married Shin Chen, a poor boy. In the second year of our marriage, my parents died unexpectedly, to inherit the vast fortune. Shin Chen set fire to the villa, burning me and our child alive. Later, he used my money to marry his childhood sweetheart, bought her a house and a car, and even had beautiful twin children with her. By some mercy of fate, I was reborn. This time, I heeded my parents' advice and obediently married the partner they chose for me. Shin Chen was completely dumbfounded. I died in a massive fire. To kill me, Shin Chen lured me to a villa in the mountains. He kicked me in the stomach when I was 4 months pregnant. The pain was as sharp as ice-cold needles piercing through me. Clutching my belly, I slowly knelt down, watching as Shin Chen used a lighter to ignite the curtains. The fire quickly became uncontrollable, engulfing the curtains and bookshelves, and thick smoke filled the air. Just then, he confessed to me, he had tampered with my parents' car, causing the brakes to fail and sending them rolling down a hillside, curled up on the ground. My heart ached with anger. I asked him, why, Shin Chen, my parents treated you like their own son, why would you harm them? In a burst of rage, Shin Chen yelled back, if they truly treated me like a son, would they secretly make a will with a lawyer, leaving all their property only to you? They were guarding against me, right? Well then, I might as well kill you all and take the money for myself. As the fire grew, I started coughing from the smoke, and blood seeped onto my white dress from between my legs. Shin Chen, even a beast wouldn't harm its own child. Your heart is so cruel. Shin Chen laughed maniacally. As for the child, once I inherit the fortune, there will be plenty of women to bear my children. I don't need the one in your belly. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to tell you, Man is also pregnant with my child. Wang Man, his childhood sweetheart. At that moment, I lay on the ground, too pained to speak. He taunted me through the flames, wearing a hat and mask. Han Tang, go reunite with your parents below. That night, my body twisted and convulsed in agony in the fire, my screams of pain echoing through the mountains for a long time. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in my senior year of college. Today was the first anniversary of my relationship with Shin Chen. We were at a resort, celebrating with a few friends. The noisy music blared as everyone raised their glasses in high spirits. I suddenly caught my breath, staring at the familiar yet strange surroundings, stunned for a good 10 seconds, until a tipsy Shin Chen wrapped his arm around my shoulder and said, Tang Tang, I'm going to the restroom. I watched him stagger out the door. A minute later, Wang Man also left. Recalling my past life, Shin Chen had said Wang Man was pregnant with his child. Could it be that they were already together now? I decided to follow them and see for myself. Shin Chen and Wang Man entered the stairwell one after the other. I quietly approached and pushed open a small door crack, and immediately, sounds of passionate kissing filled the quiet hallway. Wang Man said sourly, did you really have to rush me out here so urgently? Aren't you afraid Han Tang will find out? Shin Chen, brimming with arrogance, declared, what's there to fear? She's dead set on marrying no one but me now. I've got her completely wrapped around my finger. Suppressing my disgust, I turned on my phone's camera. I crouched down, my hand close to the floor, and slowly slid the phone under the door to record their intense kissing. Afterwards, I gently closed the door and turned to leave. I ran to the bathroom, where I vomited several times, nearly bringing up bile. I washed my face with cold water to calm myself down. Looking at myself in the mirror, my skin was unscathed, showing no signs of burns, which stirred some excitement in me. I wasn't married to Shin yet. There was still time to change things. I immediately called my parents. Hearing their voices, I couldn't help but choke up. After composing myself, I left the bathroom and bumped into someone around the corner of the hallway. The person quickly reached out to steady me. I hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But as I looked up, I froze, tears uncontrollably streaming down my face. It was Fu Yan. I was relieved he was still alive, in a past life. As I lay dying, it was Fu Yan who had rushed into the inferno alone trying to save me, but the fire was too intense, and ultimately, he didn't make it out alive either. We perished together in the blaze. With his last breath, he regretfully whispered in my ear, Han Tang, if there is an afterlife, would you fall in love with me first? Fu Yan's voice, cool and subtle, asked, why are you crying? Realizing I had lost my composure, I quickly pulled my arm from his grasp and wiped my tears. Somewhat bewildered, I asked, what are you doing here? Fu Yan looked at me for a couple of seconds, then, adjusting his glasses, said, this resort belongs to me. Isn't it normal for me to be here? I noticed several men in suits behind him, each carrying a laptop bag. I said, then you must be busy. I won't disturb you. Alright, Fu Yan responded coldly and then walked past me with his group. I stood there, watching his tall figure disappear into the crowd, so detached. Why was he so different from the person I knew in my past life? When I returned to the private room, everyone was playing Truth or Dare. Shin Chen and Wan Man had also returned. Wan Man casually came over and pulled me. Come on, Tang Tang, join us. I looked at her lips, swollen from being kissed, clenched my teeth to suppress the urge to slap her. Shin Chen pulled me down next to him, his eyes full of concern. Where did you go? Why did it take you so long to come back? I was so worried. Shin Chen was really good at pretending. In a past life, I was deceived by his portrayal of a devoted lover. In front of me, he was always polite and extremely gentle. He had even risked his life to save me. I had always believed his love for me was genuine and never doubted him. Someone teased Wang Man. Does your dorm have any other beautiful single girls like Han Tang? Introduce them to us too. Don't keep all your thoughts on Shin Chen. Who can compare to Shin Chen? Everyone else just back off. Wow, childhood friends really are different. Huh, you're already taking his side. Wang Man was causing a scene, while Shin Chen just laughed. They seemed to enjoy this thrilling feeling of flirting right in front of me. During the game, when the bottle pointed at Wang Man, I asked with a smile, Man, when was your last kiss? Wang Man's face immediately turned red. With an affected tone, she said, Tang, what are you talking about? I haven't even dated anyone yet. I still have my first kiss. She glanced at Shin Chen. Besides, I'm not as lucky as you to have such an outstanding boyfriend like Shin Chen. Everyone around exclaimed with a wow. It turns out everyone noticed Wang Man's feelings for Shin Chen. I held Wang Man's hand seriously and said, how about I let you have Shin Chen? The smile on Wang Man's face froze, and she looked at me in astonishment. The bystanders were equally shocked, but the most flustered was Shin Chen. He immediately hugged me guiltily. Tang, what are you talking about? I swear, you're the only one I want in my life. If I ever betray you, may lightning strike me. Seeing the cold sweat on his forehead, I suddenly laughed. I was just joking. Look how nervous you got. Being struck by lightning would be too easy on you. After a night of fun, everyone went back to their rooms, tired, having drunk a bit. My stomach was upset. After taking a shower, I called the front desk to ask for some stomach medicine. So, when the doorbell rang, I didn't think much of it and opened the door in my nightgown. Standing at the door, however, was Fu Yan. He wasn't wearing a jacket, only a black shirt with his tie not as neatly tied as before. His gaze dropping from my face to my chest, I looked down and saw my loosely fitting nightgown, almost as if it was intentionally seductive. I quickly turned and grabbed a blanket from the bed, wrapping it tightly around me. When I returned to the door, Fu Yan handed me a box of stomach medicine. I ran into the service staff in the elevator and brought it up for you. I held the medicine in my hand. Thank you. He didn't plan to stay, bidding me good night. As he was leaving, I couldn't help but call his name, Fu Yan. Actually, I was supposed to marry Fu Yan, but back then I was too rebellious, hating the restrictions set by my family and the arranged marriage they pushed on me. And Fu Yan was that arranged match. I even disliked him without really getting to know him. I ignored all the kindness he showed me. Fu Yan looked at me with a meaningful expression. What is it? I suddenly remembered what he whispered in my ear in a past life. Tang, if there is a next life, how about you fall for me first? I owed him a life. This time, I wanted to make it up to him properly. Seeing me silent, Fu Yan nodded. If there's nothing else, I'll leave, Fu Yan. Do you still want me? He frowned. What did you say? My palms were sweaty with nervousness as I whispered, my breath tight. Fu Yan, I don't want to break off our engagement anymore. Will you still marry me? He lowered his gaze to me for a while, as if trying to bore a hole through my face with his stare. When a response didn't come, my tightly clenched fingers gradually loosened, my heart sinking into disappointment. I forced a smile and said, never mind then, good night. But just as the door was about to close, Fu Yan suddenly reached out and held the door frame. He pushed the door open again, and my heart leaped. Fu Yan's presence was cold and imposing as he said, Han Tang, what makes you think I, Fu Yan, would want someone who has a boyfriend? Huh, his question caught me off guard. I had almost forgotten that, having come back to life, I hadn't broken up with Shin Chen yet. But how could I tell him that Shin Chen and I were no longer possible? That I was just waiting for the right moment. His icy gaze fixed on me. Why aren't you speaking? Our eyes met, the surrounding atmosphere heavy enough to suffocate. I found myself unconsciously holding my breath. I tried to speak several times but didn't know how to explain. Eventually, I just looked down, defeated. I'm sorry, Fu Yan, I'm sorry. Sorry to him in my past life, and to him now. I felt cornered under his intense scrutiny, almost desperate to close the door. But Fu Yan pushed the door open forcefully, barging in, and pinned me against the wall as he kicked the door shut. He moved closer, his voice tense. Han Tang, I've been trying so hard to forget you. Why do you have to provoke me? Last life, I risked my life for you. How are you going to torment me in this life? He was also reborn. My eyes widened in shock as I stared at him. Almost at the same time, someone knocked on my room door. Shin Chen's voice came from outside. Tang Tang, are you in there? I heard some noises from your room. Are you alright? I had forgotten that Shin Chen lived next door, and at that moment, I was pressed against the door by Fu Yan, just a door away from him. Shin Chen's knocking grew more urgent. Tang Tang, open the door. Fu Yan's lips pressed closer to mine, getting nearer. He pulled off the thin blanket from my shoulders, letting it fall to the floor. His palm pressed against the back of my head. Han Tang, I want you to prove to me now that you choose me, not him. With those words, he fiercely kissed me, his tongue forcing past my teeth, and I helplessly accepted. My wrists were tightly grasped by Fu Yan, held above my head. He possessed me with a resentful desire. Frantically nibbling at my earlobe and lips until a taste of blood filled my mouth, I winced in pain. Then a hurried footstep approached from the doorway. Shin Chen anxiously said, I've been calling for a while and no one answered. I was worried something had happened to my girlfriend. Then the door lock clicked. As the room door was pushed open, Fu Yan swiftly draped the thin blanket over my shoulders. He pushed me forward, and I appeared at the door, panting, and Fu Yan, he hid behind the door. I saw Shin Chen and a female staff member standing at the doorway, staring at me with strange looks, especially Shin Chen. His gaze fell on the front of my chest. I wrapped myself in a light blanket, trying to stay calm as I explained. I was just taking a shower. Shin Chen glanced at my damp hair, sighed with relief, and stammered, I thought something had happened to you. I was so scared. Tang, Tang. His speech slowed as he stared at my bitten lips, his expression changing slightly. What happened to your lips? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Fu Yan, standing behind the door, touch his lips and then look at the blood on the back of his hand, smirking slightly. The awkward atmosphere prompted the staff to find an excuse to leave. Shin Chen's eyes swept over me and peered into the room, tentatively asking, Are you alone in the room? He even thought about coming in, but I stopped him. It's getting late, I'm tired. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Good night. I coldly shut Shin Chen out of the door. As soon as I turned around, Fu Yan grabbed me, pinning me against the door. He traced his fingertips over my lips, gently pinching them, and said with self-mockery, Han Tang, you've been reborn too, haven't you? Otherwise, you wouldn't have come to me. He whispered in my ear, his breath warm but his tone chillingly cold. But Han Tang, I don't need your guilt. If you seek revenge, I won't stop you. But in this life, I won't be manipulated by you again. From now on, we go our separate ways and have nothing to do with each other. In the previous life, Fu Yan had always dragged his feet on agreeing to break off our engagement. But this night, just after I returned from the resort, my mother received a call from Aunt Fu saying he had agreed to the breakup. Aunt Fu even expressed her regret over the phone, saying, I really liked Tang Tang, what a pity. I was sitting next to my mom at the time, feeling a mix of emotions. My mom gave me a sharp look and apologized to Aunt Fu. It's Han Tang who is unfortunate, not worthy of Fu Yan. After hanging up, my mom sighed, Tang Tang, I don't even know what to say to you. That Shinshin must have bewitched you to be so fixated on him. I touched the few strands of white hair at my mom's temples, content just to see her again. Mom, I'll listen to you and break up with Shinshin. My mom was stunned, confirming it twice before she could believe her ears. She happily held my hand, saying, you have to trust your mom's judgment. Shinshin is not the right one for you. I smiled bitterly. If only I had listened before, I wouldn't have ended up in such a state. But, is this really the end for me and Fu Yan? After the weekend, I returned to school. Shinshin was waiting early at the entrance of the teaching building, waiting for me to finish class. Seeing me come out, he walked over and took my bag. Tang Tang, I sent you many messages last night. Why didn't you reply? Pretending not to know, I replied, I went to sleep early, my phone was on silent. Shinshin walked with me, trying a few times to hold my hand, but I avoided it each time. Finally unable to hold back, he pulled me aside and asked, Tang Tang, did I do something wrong? Did I make you angry? You've been so cold to me lately, almost like a different person. I looked at Shinshin's face, full of grievance, as if he was truly devastated by his love for me. His expression reminded me of our past life when, after losing money in the stock market, he would come to me looking pitiful, seeking a bailout. A sudden thought crossed my mind. He loves money, doesn't he? This time, I'll let his greed be his downfall. Shinshin, my parents don't approve of us being together, I said with a look of dejection. I've been really troubled about this lately. Shinshin immediately tensed up. What should we do? Tang Tang, I love you so much. If I can't marry you, what's the point of living? He played the victim, saying, I know I come from a small town, and your uncle and aunt think I'm not worthy of you, so, Shinshin, you just need to show them that you can make money. I egged him on. You've been working and saving diligently these past few years and have saved up 30,000 yuan, right? I heard from a friend of my mom that there's a stock that's been doing really well recently, tripling in value in just a month. You could use that 30,000 yuan to invest in stocks and make a lot of money. Stock trading, Shinshin hesitated, but I don't know how. What if I lose all that 30,000 yuan? I encouraged him. I'm here, aren't I? What are you worried about? I'll help you get the inside scoop. My parents said if you can afford a house, they'll agree to our marriage after graduation. Shinshin, don't you want to marry me? I do, he said, more cunning than a monkey, agreeing eagerly. He'd rather risk losing the 30,000 yuan than lose me, his cash cow. Within just a few days, that 30,000 yuan tripled. Shinshin came to my dorm excitedly and hugged me. Tang Tang, you really are my lucky star. You know, I now have 90,000 yuan in my account. Back in our hometown, that could be a down payment for a house. He wanted to withdraw all the money. I quickly used his greed, advising him to make money work for money. I also pretended to regret. It's a pity, though, this money is still not enough. It's so hard to save up for a house. If only we had more money. After all, the stock market's rise is limited. We need to seize the time. I hinted to him that marrying me would mean inheriting my family's wealth, making it worth his while to take a risk. Shinshin immediately swore. Tang Tang, don't worry, I'll figure out the money issue. Rest assured, I'll work hard to buy a house so we can get married. That night, as I got up to use the bathroom, I overheard one man secretly taking a call. Shinshin was asking her for money. Use your brain. Once I marry her, all her Han family's wealth will be ours. Right. From their conversation, I learned. It turns out the car accident that Shinshin saved me from previously was prearranged by him. One man had been cozying up to me since moving into the dorm, all to gain my trust and introduce me to Shinshin. From the start, they had their eyes on my family's money. Finally, Shinshin said, I'll send you my card number. Quickly transfer the money to me. I'll also borrow some high-interest loans, and once I make money, I'll pay you back double. I clenched my fists in anger, grinding my teeth. To live this life over, they owe me, and I will reclaim it all with interest. In the early hours, I lay in bed unable to sleep. While browsing on my phone, I saw a picture of Fu Yan on a friend's Facebook. The IP was from France. In the photo, he was standing with a beautiful woman. It appeared to be at a grand gathering. The event was splendidly decorated, with dazzling lights everywhere. I couldn't help but ask a friend about Fu Yan's recent situation. My friend teased me, saying, What, Miss Han? Are you regretting calling off the engagement? Too late now though. The girl in the photo is a marriage prospect the Fu family has picked out for him, and I heard they are currently getting to know each other. He really did what he said he would, and from then on, we went our separate ways. It's for the best. A week later, a collegiate design competition was held in the province, in my past life. It was on the morning of this competition that I suddenly suffered from severe diarrhea. One man took the design I had created and competed alone, winning first place but never mentioning me. Her excuse later was that she was too nervous at the time and became incoherent. Then she cried and apologized to me, but as a result, she gained fame and was immediately recruited by a top domestic design company upon graduation, transforming her life dramatically. After my tragic death, she and Shin Chen became the envy of everyone as they soared high together. This morning, however, one man tried the same trick again, handing me a cup of water laced with laxatives. Tan, I heard you coughing last night. Drink some water to soothe your throat. You have to give a speech on stage later. I took the water without showing any reaction and smiled. Thank you. She lingered by my bed, wanting to see me drink it. I played dumb and asked her, "What are you staring at?" She nervously scratched her head. "Oh, nothing. Just that the necklace on your neck is really pretty." I touched my necklace. Shin Chen gave it to me. One man's smile became unnatural for a few seconds. "I'm going to wash up." While no one was looking, I poured the water she gave me into a flower pot and deliberately placed the empty cup on the table. When she came back from washing up and saw the empty cup, she was indeed pleased. Before leaving, I pretended to have a stomachache and let one man go ahead. One man feigned concern for a few moments, then hurried off as if she couldn't wait to get away, fearing I might catch up. Little did she know that on this day, which she thought marked the beginning of her glory, it would actually be the start of her and Shin Chen's descent into hell. I specifically arrived 2 minutes before I was due on stage for my speech. One man, seeing me, jumped as if she had seen a ghost, her eyes instinctively dropping to my stomach. Tan, you. I calmly smiled. My stomach is fine, it's almost our turn. Right, she nodded dumbly. When I took the speech manuscript from her hands, she was reluctant to let go but forced a strained smile, making it quite comical. As the host called my name, one man still held out hope and asked me, Tan, are you really okay? It would be terrible if your stomach acted up on stage. Maybe I should. I cut her off. I'm fine. Under her reluctant gaze, I slowly walked onto the stage, capturing the attention of the entire audience. The design was something I had put a lot of thought into. One man was merely an assistant. Had it not been for her family's poor circumstances and her sick father, I wouldn't have kindly included her in the credits, giving her an opportunity to shine. I had memorized the speech so well that I was the only contestant who spoke without a script. After the presentation, the audience applauded for me. One of the senior judges, Joan, a well-known designer in the industry and the same person who offered one man an opportunity in my previous life, actively asked me, Han Tang, I really like your design. You are very talented. Would you be interested in working at my company after graduation? I smiled gracefully. I would love to. I will reclaim the spotlight that one man took from me. Everything was taken back. That evening, Shin Chen invited many friends and specifically booked a very expensive local restaurant to celebrate my championship victory. Ever since he started making money, he has been spending more lavishly, filling his wardrobe with brand-name clothes. Watching him give a toast at the dinner table, with his pretentious demeanor, I couldn't help but want to laugh. In his past life, he always pretended to be a frail scholar, eliciting sympathy from others. Now, he seemed like a nouveau riche, eager for the whole world to know that he was no longer poor, proudly raising his head high. This was good. The higher he climbed, the harder he would fall. Within my mind, I calculated that in less than a month, the stock he invested in would hit continuous limit downs. By then, all his money would be trapped. Not only would he and one man be left with nothing, but the high-interest loans alone would be enough to ruin him. One man sat next to me, barely speaking throughout the evening. I asked her, Man, what's wrong? She hesitated and then said, Tang, when you were giving your award acceptance speech today, why didn't you mention me at all? Even though I drew the design drafts, I also contributed. Didn't you say you would credit me? I took a sip of orange juice, mimicking her demeanor from her past life, and feigned realization. Oh, man, it's all my fault. I was too excited when I received the award, and I spoke incoherently. I'm sorry. She had no choice but to act magnanimous. It's okay. I know it wasn't intentional, but, Tang, we are about to graduate, and I still haven't found a job. Today, you accepted an invitation from Joan, a top design firm in the country where countless people are vying to get in. So, when you go, could you take me with you? I inwardly sneered. Sure, just you wait. One man immediately showed a delighted expression, thanking me profusely. Shin Chen, drunk slung his arm around my shoulders, singing and dancing like a crazed donkey. He said, "Tang Tang, wait until I buy a big house, we'll get married right away. Tang Tang, you don't know how much I want to hurry up and bring you home. Tang Tang, if our kids look like you, they'll definitely be very beautiful." Kids, I remembered the child who was 4 months old in my womb, kicked out by Shin Chen, and my heart felt as if it was being carved by a knife. Amidst everyone's cheering, Shin Chen suddenly leaned in and kissed me fiercely on the face. I immediately pushed him away in disgust. "Don't touch me." Shin Chen was stunned, so were the others. Wang Man stared at me incredulously, but fortunately, since Shin Chen was quite drunk and not very coherent, he thought I was just playing around and came over to hug me. "Baby, are you mad that I drank?" "I'm sorry, I won't drink anymore, okay?" I responded with a forced smile. "You guys go ahead, I'll head to the restroom." I rushed into the restroom, immediately grabbed a piece of paper, wet it, and furiously scrubbed my face in the mirror. Even though my skin turned red, I still felt disgusted. Finally, frustrated, I threw the paper at the mirror. It took me a while to calm down. When I left the restroom and was walking back to the private room, I unexpectedly saw Fu Yan coming out from another corridor. He headed towards the elevator. It had been a long time since I last saw him, and his figure seemed even more slender from behind. I watched as he and his group entered the elevator one after another. On impulse, I followed and hurriedly pressed the button for the opposite elevator. When I reached the entrance, Fu Yan was seeing someone off to their car. When his Mercedes pulled up, he declined a ride, saying, "I'd like to walk." "You go ahead, 17, if you're going to put on a show, do it right." I sent a WeChat message to Wang Man, telling her I had to leave early due to a family emergency, and asked her to look after Shin Chen. The night streets, adorned with colorful neon lights, were dreamlike. People passed by in pairs and groups, chatting and enjoying themselves comfortably. I secretly followed behind Fu Yan, keeping a cautious distance, watching him from afar through the crowd. Under the streetlight, his shadow stretched out long and looked so lonely. He stopped in front of an elderly woman sitting on the ground. Beside her sat a boy about 2 years old, in tattered clothes, with a dirty rice cracker in his mouth. Fu Yan took some money out of his wallet and gave it to her, buying all the handcrafted items made from yarn at her stall. The elderly woman was tearfully grateful, carrying the bag of crafts, which were of no use to him. Fu Yan continued walking. I hurriedly bought some food from a roadside stall. I ran up to the elderly woman, stuffed the warm food into her hands, and, patting the boy's head, said, "Little guy, make sure you take good care of your grandma when you grow up." The elderly woman kept thanking me, but when I turned around to look for Fu Yan, he had disappeared into the crowd. I panicked. It felt like losing a precious treasure as I looked around desperately. I accidentally bumped into a young couple. The girl's milk tea spilled all over me, and she quickly apologized. I shook my head. "It's okay. I should be the one apologizing." It wasn't until they walked away that I dejectedly lowered my head, looking at my disheveled self. Then a hand reached out, offering me a pack of tissues. I slowly looked up, following the hand up to meet Fu Yan's cold gaze. The city's noise faded into silence at that moment, and all the clamor seemed distant. In my eyes, there was only him. I stumbled over my words, and finally diverted the topic awkwardly. "What a coincidence, is it?" His gaze lingered on my face, his expression indifferent, yet his eyes intense. "Haven't you been following me all along?" Fu Yan stuffed the tissues into my hand and turned to leave. I blurted out in desperation, "Fu Yan, I have something to tell you." 18. We found a relatively quiet place. Fu Yan stood under the streetlight, his posture as straight as a pine tree. "What is it? Speak." I told him about my parents. When they were young, my mother had someone she liked but was forced into an arranged marriage with my father due to family reasons. Their marriage was not a happy one. They argued frequently, and it was common for my father to not come home for months. As a child, I envied other kids whose parents would attend school activities on family days, but my parents were always too busy, only sending the nanny instead. Throughout my childhood, they hardly cared for me. Yet they started imposing restrictions during my most rebellious teenage years. They would lecture me with principles I could barely understand, always demanding how I should be. I rebelled against them. The more displeased they were, the more I resisted. I felt a rush of joy at the thought of my decision. In my previous life, I loved Shin Chen not only because he was such a good pretender, but also because he always did as I wished. Especially when my parents found out and were strongly against us being together, I wanted to marry him even more. It was a sort of pathological revenge. Every time they argued, they would leave the house in a complete mess. I kept telling myself that I would never want to live that kind of life. So Fu Yan, my refusal to enter into an arranged marriage isn't about you. It would be the same with anyone they chose for me. I would resist. I hate them controlling me. And I'm even more afraid of ending up in a marriage like theirs, seemingly perfect but devoid of real connection. I don't want my children to grow up in such an unhealthy family environment, but because of my stubbornness, I ended up with such a fate, dragging you down with me, losing your life, for which I am truly sorry. That apology is what I owe him. Everyone has been young and reckless. I long more than anyone to start over. Fu Yan. When I asked you the other day if you would still marry me, I meant it sincerely. It wasn't just out of guilt, but also because I don't want to miss out on you again. Fu Yan remained silent the whole time, quietly listening to me. The ground around his feet was littered with cigarette butts, his brow furrowed. After a long silence, Fu Yan flicked his last cigarette butt onto the ground and stubbed it out with the tip of his shoe. He looked up at me. Are you done? My hands clenched the fabric of my clothes because of his indifference. His gaze was calm and undisturbed. Han Tang, I accept your apology, but that's all. I have things to do. I must go now. Goodbye. I watched his receding figure, tears sliding down unexpectedly, but now is not the time to be sad. The time left for me is running out. I need to quickly implement my plan. On the night of Shin Chen's 23rd birthday, he had booked a hotel suite and planned to propose to me. It was Wang Man who took me there. The room was romantically and warmly decorated with pink balloons and petals scattered around, creating a sweet atmosphere. In the center, there was a bouquet of carefully selected roses, their petals glittering softly under the light. Shin Chen, dressed in a suit looking proper and fitting, stood in front of the roses, holding a diamond ring, and knelt on one knee. Tang Tang, will you marry me? Facing his expectant eyes, I slowly walked over, amidst everyone's blessings. I swung my hand and slapped him hard. The diamond ring fell from Shin Chen's hand, clattering to the floor. He held his half-turned face in disbelief, looking at me. Everyone else froze, hardly daring to breathe. My glare swept over Shin Chen and Wang Man as I demanded, when did you two get together? My question came out of nowhere. Shin Chen and Wang Man looked bewildered. They glanced at each other in shock before Shin Chen immediately grabbed my hand, pleading, Tang Tang. Wang Man and I are innocent. Don't listen to the gossip. They are just jealous. Wang Man also nervously explained, yes, Tang Tang, we're best friends. How could I? Before she could finish her sentence, I showed them the video on my phone. The video clearly showed them passionately kissing, which I had secretly filmed that night at the resort. Their faces turned pale as they stared at the screen on my phone. Panic was visibly in the air. Just an hour ago, someone posted a video of you two passionately kissing on the campus network. Now the whole school knows. I pretended to be heartbroken, my voice trembling. Shin Chen, Wang Man, how could you do this to me? I trusted you so much, treated you so well, and this is how you repay me. Shin Chen tried to pull me back, but I shrugged off his hand and slapped him again. Don't touch me. I glanced at the romantic setting in the room and said sarcastically, keep this marriage proposal for Wang Man. I'll give you my blessing. As I turned to leave, I dropped the facade of heartbreak and smirked coldly. Next, it would be a dog-eat-dog scenario for them. In fact, I had deliberately arranged for the kissing video to be uploaded today. Firstly, I knew about Shin Chen's plan to propose to me tonight, and I wanted to expose him and Wang Man publicly, shattering his dream. Secondly, the stock market is going to crash tomorrow, and I needed something significant to distract Shin Chen, keeping him from focusing on his stocks. By the time he realizes, his stocks will be trapped, and he will be ruined. Now, the whole school is cursing them as immoral. After tonight, they will be pointed at and talked about wherever they go, never to have a peaceful day again. It rained heavily that evening, and my other two roommates didn't come back. I didn't know what happened between Shin Chen and Wang Man. When Wang Man entered, she was drenched like a drowned rat and stormed up to me angrily. Han Tang, you did this on purpose, didn't you? You knew I was with Shin Chen all along, didn't you? I removed my face mask, looking at her innocently. Why are you so angry? Being the other woman, Wang Man, playing the victim first, accused me. Han Tang, I never saw it coming. You always acted like a good person, but you're so cunning. Now Shin Chen has completely turned against me. Are you happy? I smiled faintly. Happy? This is far from enough. Only then did Wang Man realize. So that morning of the competition, you knew I drugged your water. You pretended to give me hope, only to watch it dashed. You never planned to take me with you to work with Joan. Are you playing me? I spoke leisurely. Playing you? Why should I pick a day? Enraged and embarrassed, Wang Man lunged at me like a madwoman. but I slapped her back. She covered her face, her eyes wide as saucers. "You dare hit me." I stepped forward, grabbed her by the collar, my gaze sharp as a knife. "Hitting you is hardly satisfying, Wong Man. The show has just begun, let's take it slow." Wong Man, being extremely prideful, couldn't handle the pointing and whispering, and soon submitted a leave of absence request to the school. Shin sent me countless messages every day, skipping classes, just waiting under the girls' dorm. Seeing me, he would cry and beg for forgiveness. Tang, you have to believe me. My feelings for you are genuine. It was all Wong Man seducing me. I was forced. Tang, as long as you can forgive me, I'll do anything. Just please don't ignore me. It's killing me. Until one day, when he came to me, he was fraught with anxiety. Tang, what should we do? The money in stocks is almost gone. I've been so focused on you lately. I haven't been paying attention. What should I do? Tang, can you help me? I borrowed so much from loan sharks. If I can't pay them back, they'll kill me. He even knelt down in front of me publicly, abandoning all his pride, pleading, Tang, I did it all for you. You were the one who said that stock was a sure win, and that you'd marry me once I had enough money for a house. You can't just abandon me now. I looked down at Shin kneeling before me, pitiful as a dog. But you also said, if you were ever unfaithful, you'd be struck by lightning. Yet here you are, still alive and well. It took a lot of effort to pull my hand from Shin grasp. Shin, look into your heart and ask yourself, are you really doing all this just to marry me, or is it for the money? You brought this on yourself with your greed, and you deserve it. Don't come looking for me again. Your current state disgusts me. Seeing me about to leave, he grabbed my arm unwillingly, his words carrying a sharp edge. Han Tang, do you really need to be so ruthless? Ruthless, I responded coldly. Shin, compared to what you've done to me, I've been quite merciful. As I turned to leave, Shin threatened from behind. Han Tang, even a cornered dog will jump over a wall. Don't push me. Shin came looking for me a few times after that. I didn't even show him my face. I heard he got caught by the loan sharks and hasn't been seen at school for days. I don't even know if he's alive or dead. Sometime later, Wong Man suddenly drove a luxury car back to school to withdraw. Seeing her again, she seemed like a different person. Dressed head to toe in designer brands, even the bag she carried was worth tens of thousands. My roommate said, Wong Man was being kept by someone. When I was leaving the cafeteria, Wong Man blocked my path. She stood before me, arrogant and removing her sunglasses with her red-painted nails. Long time no see, Han Tang. I came specifically to thank you. If it weren't for what you did back then, forcing me to drop out, I would never have met my husband. What's the point of sticking with Shin? That poor guy. Look at my life now, living in luxury. Don't be too jealous. I looked back at her. Wong Man, do you enjoy being the mistress? Wong Man just laughed carelessly. What's wrong with being a mistress? He gives me money, lets me live in a mansion, and drive a luxury car. That's good enough for me. What's the point of clinging to a marriage certificate? My husband always says, he and I are true love. He just met me too late. Besides, in love, the one who isn't loved is the real third party. In my view, that plain Jane is the real intruder in our relationship. Listening to her spouting nonsense, I finally understood why the ancients said that more words lead to disagreement. Wong Man provoked me. By the way, Han Tang, I saw that wealthy fiancé you broke off your engagement with at a banquet recently. Fu Yen, right? My heart felt like it was pricked. Her gaze sharpened, cutting towards her like the edge of a knife. Wong Man chuckled and said, you know, he's quite handsome and successful, and I heard that he and his current fiancé have broken up. Do you think if I could win over Fu Yen, I'd really be marrying into a wealthy family? I clenched my teeth secretly, my temples throbbing fiercely. Stay away from him, I warned her. Wong Man raised an eyebrow, looking at me in surprise. So, you care about him? I tightened my grip on my hands. Before she left, Wong Man deliberately taunted me. Maybe the next time we meet, you'll have to call me Fu Yan's girlfriend. Wong Man's words echoed in my ears, disturbing my peace. I knew Fu Yan wasn't interested in her, but seeing Wong Man's crazed state last time, I feared she might do something drastic to get back at me and tarnish Fu Yan's reputation. I didn't want to drag him into this. After much hesitation, I decided to go see him. I lingered at the gate of his villa for a long time, lacking the courage to ring the doorbell. Hearing footsteps inside, I panicked and hid. Then I saw Fu Yan escorting a girl out. I recognized her immediately from a photo I had seen before. As she left, she turned to him and said, "Okay, stop here, Fu Yan." Dressed in casual white attire with his hands casually tucked in his pockets, replied, have a safe trip, the girl, with a sweet smile, said. Thanks for agreeing to the arranged marriage before. It gave me and Aylin time to prepare to go abroad. Otherwise, my mom would have been totally against it. When Aylin and I register our marriage abroad, you're welcome to attend. Fu Yan chuckled softly. Sure, I wish you happiness. They hugged politely and said their goodbyes. The girl got into her car. Before driving away, she rolled down her window and said to Fu Yan, Hey, I saw the photo of the girl you've hidden in your phone. She's beautiful and suits you well. Fu Yan, love isn't something that waits. If you truly can't let go, why not try giving each other another chance? You've got to be strong. As the car drove away, disappearing into the distance, Fu Yan turned to go inside. I called out to him, Fu Yan. He paused and looked back. Instinctively glancing in the direction the car had disappeared, seemingly judging whether I had heard their conversation, I approached him and disclosed everything about Wang Man. I know you don't like her. I just wanted to warn you to be careful. She's ruthless, and I don't want you to get involved. Fu Yan's voice lowered as he asked, Did you come all this way just to tell me this? I nodded. After a long silence, he didn't speak again. I pursed my lips. That's all. I'm leaving. Goodbye. I didn't know how far I had walked when suddenly Fu Yan called out, Han Tang. Joy surged in my heart, and I immediately turned to look at him. His dark eyes brimmed with light, as if a handful of stardust had settled in them. Shin Chen is being chased by debt collectors. He's a ruthless man. Be careful. Was he showing concern for me? He had been keeping an eye on me all this time. My eyes nearly welled up with tears as I smiled and said, I know. I refused to let Wang Man act recklessly, so I paid someone to follow her and took many photos of her with a middle-aged man entering hotels and being intimate in public, then anonymously sent them to his wife. Before long, the wife caught them and pinned her down on the hotel bed. The man, looking out for himself, claimed that it was Wang Man who seduced him. As expected, that's the typical excuse of a scoundrel, but the wife wasn't someone to be trifled with. She gathered some friends, stripped Wang Man naked, and threw her into the street where passers-by took photos and videos that ended up online. She even hired someone to drive Wang Man out of town, banning her from returning. 25. After dealing with Wang Man's situation, I started to get busy with my graduation thesis. That evening, Joan suddenly invited me out to dinner to discuss job opportunities after graduation. We had a great time talking. She had drunk a bit too much to drive. I called a ride for her and watched until her car had left. Then I took a ride back to school. After getting out of the car, I went to a supermarket and bought some yogurt. As I was walking back to school, Fu Yan suddenly appeared. He quickly put his arm around my shoulders and pulled me close, whispering, Don't make a sound. Shin Chen is following us. I had a bad feeling about this. Fu Yan, holding me close, hurried towards the school, whispering, Shin Chen has been following you all night. I'm worried he might hurt you. I couldn't help but remember Shin Chen's hideous expression the night he set fire to kill me in my previous life. But Fu Yan's presence now meant he was being dragged into this too. Just as I was about to tell him to leave, Shin Chen, who had been following us, suddenly called out, Han Tang. I stopped in my tracks. That voice, that tone, it was just like that night. Shin Chen seemed intent on killing. As I turned around, I instinctively stepped in front of Fu Yan, fearing Shin Chen would harm him. Shin Chen took off his hat and mask and threw them to the ground. He pointed at Fu Yan behind me and shouted, You dumped me for him. Is it because he's richer and more powerful? Right, Han Tang. So you're just a vain and greedy bitch. You've ruined me. And now you're living carefree with someone else. As Shin Chen spoke, his eyes met Fu Yan's, and a fierce battle of anger ensued. Fu Yan shielded me behind him, using his tall frame as a barrier. Shin Chen, I've already called the police. Don't do anything stupid. Police, ha, you think I'm scared? Shin Chen's gaze shifted past Fu Yan, aiming directly at me. Han Tang, Wang Man told me everything before she left. You've been setting us up from the start. You never intended to marry me. You used my desire to marry you to drive me to this point. You're playing me. You've driven me into debt, and now you want to kick me aside. There's no such thing as a free lunch. I'd rather die than let you get away with this. Sirens could be heard in the distance. The flashing red and blue lights illuminated the darkness around us and shone on Shin Chen's face. The next second, he pulled a fruit knife from his bag and, gritting his teeth, charged at us, shouting, Han Tang, go to hell. The distance was too close. Shin Chen seemed crazed. Fu Yan and I barely had time to react. Without thinking, Fu Yan turned and embraced me, but I couldn't let him be harmed. At the moment Shin Chen lunged with his knife, I gathered all my strength and pushed Fu Yan away. Shin Chen's knife plunged into my abdomen. He grabbed my shoulders and viciously twisted the knife deeper. Han Tang, go to die. Just die. It felt like a tremendous force was tearing inside me. It hurt. It was painful. Shin Chen was only released when a police officer shot him in the head. His blood splattered on my face. I watched as he fell backwards, his body twitching on the ground. Once he was confirmed dead, the force that had been sustaining me inside collapsed. Fu Yan rushed over, caught my falling body, and held me tightly, his eyes misting over. The alarm bells were incessant. I saw people running this way. They surrounded Shin Chen. Guns pointed at him. Someone else was calling for an ambulance. And there I was, quietly lying in Fu Yan's arms, lifting my blood-stained hand to gently touch his face, smiling with acceptance. It's good that it wasn't you. This time, let's say I saved you. One life for another. Are we even now? Fu Yan gripped my hand tightly, his voice strained and hoarse. Han Tang, you owe me far more than just one life. I want you to live well, to make it up to me. Do you hear? I vomited blood, tears flowing uncontrollably. Fu Yan, I'm sorry, I've let you down. I truly regret it. If there really is a next life, I'll be the one to fall for you first. 26. My life was not long. My soul drifted from my body, and my past flashed before my eyes like a carousel. It turns out that the first time I met Fu Yan, it wasn't his first time seeing me. It turns out that he was the one who initiated our engagement, which is why Aunt Fu arranged to meet my mother. It turns out that on the day I married Shin Chen, Fu Yan was there, watching me from the shadows, and quietly left before the lights came on after the ceremony. It turns out he had already bought a wedding ring and threw it into a trash bin after leaving the wedding venue. It turns out he had fallen for me back when I was a freshman volunteering as a caregiver in the nursing home. So early on, it turns out I hurt him deeply. 27. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day I first met Fu Yan. The reserved man sat across from me, and Fu watched me with a constant smile. After exchanging glances with my mom, she turned to me and said, Tang Tang, you don't know how outstanding Fu Yan is. She went on, sounding almost like a matchmaker. I just listened quietly, my gaze fixed on Fu Yan's face, tears nearly welling up. That year, he was 24, and I was 20. I hadn't met Shin Chen yet. Everything was just right. Fu Yan, I like you. Story 2. In my previous life, I was drugged and sought help from my fiancé, only to be schemed against and photographed by him, which led to my death. After being reborn, I threw myself into the arms of a rugged mechanic. The tall man's eyes were somber, and he restrained his voice. Sweetheart, don't play games with me. Trying to appear calm, I hooked my arms around his neck, my voice trembling. I don't care. I want this. In the end, I faced the consequences, my throat raw from crying, sobbing, and cursing him as a jerk. Jolie gently kissed the tears from the corners of my eyes, his voice soothing and coaxing. Yeah, the jerk loves you. Want to see how much more of a jerk I can be? 01. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in the bedroom of a hilltop villa. My body felt as if it was burning with fire, struggling with the unbearable heat. I ripped open my collar, instantly realizing that I had been reborn. I had returned to the night I was drugged, in my past life, feeling unwell. I had instinctively sought help from my fiancé, Qing Jingye. However, he refused to take me to the hospital under the pretext that it was unsafe to travel in the storm, and took advantage of my unconscious state to take compromising photos of me. Step by step, he blackmailed and threatened me, leading to the ruin of my family and my death with unfulfilled desires. Footsteps sounded outside the door. Startled, my nerves tensed. Given another chance, I could not make the same mistakes. Taking a deep breath, I stumbled out of bed and rushed down to the garage on the lower floor. Rongshi, Jolie was wearing a black sleeveless vest, his muscular chest taut, clearly outlining his muscular contours. He was holding a 10-kilogram tire, his arms bulging with veins, silently exuding a strong hormonal scent. My throat went dry, feeling an overwhelming restlessness building inside me. Jolie, I feel terrible. Please help me. I threw caution to the wind and flung myself into his embrace, gripping his lean waist. Although Jolie was inexperienced in romantic matters, he quickly sensed that something was off. His body stiffened, and his eyes shifted from confusion to concern. Rongshi, let's go to the hospital now. Jolie was the son of our housekeeper, and after I was to marry Qing Jingye, he volunteered to be my driver. He was always quiet and just silently did his work beside me, perhaps because of his background, or perhaps because he valued me too much. He never revealed his feelings. It wasn't until after I was killed by Qing Jingye in my past life that he built a vast business empire within a decade. forcing Qingjingye into bankruptcy and exile. At last, he avenged me by tormenting Qing to death abroad. Only then did I realize that to be closer to me, he had always been hiding his capabilities, even at the cost of his own prospects. This time, I wanted to take his hand proactively. No. I just want you. I buried my face in his chest, rubbing against him uncontrollably. Zhou Li's breathing deepened instantly. After a moment, he spoke again, his voice hoarse. Sweetheart, we're not suitable. I'm too much for you. I don't even have a car or a house. My face flushed red, so Zhou Li was repressed. Trying to stay calm, I hooked my arms around his neck, my voice trembling. I don't care. I want you. Zhou Li breathed heavily and closed his eyes. Listen, let go of me. We need to see a doctor. His restraint was at its limit, the pale blue veins on his neck bulging prominently, overwhelmed by the drug. I lost my grip on reason. I was so lost in my thoughts that I couldn't hear what he was saying. I stubbornly refused to let go. The only thought in my mind was to be with Zhou Li. As my consciousness blurred, I stared dumbfounded at the movement of his Adam's apple and began to nibble on it gently. Zhou Li, it's too late now. It would take at least 2 hours to get down the mountain to the hospital. Do you really want to watch me get into trouble, or would you rather I turn to someone else for help? Unable to restrain himself any longer, Zhou Li grabbed my waist, flipped me over, and pressed me against the car door. Rongxi, do you know who I am? Zhou Li, The cold glass at the back of my neck made me instinctively shrink forward into Zhou Li's arms. He smoothly took control, pulling me closer into his embrace. His passionate kisses rained down overwhelmingly. He whispered soothingly as he kissed me, say my name, be good. After much turmoil, my voice was hoarse from crying, and I truly understood the meaning of asking for trouble. Zhou Li, I can't, it's too cold. I scrambled for excuses, pushing him away with my hands. Zhou Li complied and then carried me back into the car. He lightly laughed as he stroked the unstoppable sweat on my body, still cold. The temperature inside the sealed car climbed rapidly. Cold, so cold. Oh, then we need to move a bit more. Darling, exercise generates heat. My rationality had shattered long ago. It took me a while to grasp the implications of his words. I stared blankly at the fog forming on the rear seat glass, crying even harder. Zhou Li leaned over, kissed the tears from the corners of my eyes, his smile mocking. Why cry? This is exactly what you wanted, although I initially meant age. But what you thought isn't entirely wrong either. Embarrassed and annoyed, I covered my face, completely breaking down. 02. When I awoke the next day, I was already back in my room, dressed in a clean nightgown. It must have been Zhou Li who took care of me. Remembering Zhou Li's wildness from the night before, my face flushed again. Little she, where were you last night? Qingjingye came in without knocking, looking upset. Do I need to report my whereabouts to you? I pulled the blanket around me and responded coldly. I didn't mean it like that. I was just worried about you. Qingjingye was caught off guard by my cold demeanor, thinking it might be because of his tone. After the failure of his plans last night, he still needed to maintain his considerate and harmless facade to gain my trust. Why is your face so red? Do you have a fever? He stepped forward with concern, trying to touch my forehead. But I dodged him. Get away. Don't touch me. During the tussle, my loose nightgown slipped off. Qingjingye stared at the ambiguous red marks on my shoulder, stunned. The next moment, he gripped me fiercely and roared, who the hell have you been with? Was it that mechanic? I checked the surveillance this morning and saw him carrying you out of the elevator. I can't believe you betrayed me. I winced in pain, pushing him away fiercely. It's none of your business who I'm with. Yes, I was with him. How could you? Weren't you the one who slept with my cousin first? How dare you accuse me of betrayal? Qingjingye, you disgust me. Shocked, Qingjingye's expression quickly changed. Cece, how did you find out? It's not what you think. She seduced me, and I was drunk that night. I don't remember a thing. Cece, I get it now. You're trying to get back at me, right? It's okay. I don't mind that he touched you. Let's call it even and move on from here. Qingjingye originally wanted to stand on moral high ground and criticize me, taking the opportunity to extort me. But now that he was the first to cheat, if I decided to call off the engagement, he would gain nothing. He became panicked, his explanations full of contradictions and errors. Cece, I knew it. You wouldn't fall for that mechanic. You must have been tricked by him. Yes, I remember he brought you milk last night. Did he drug it? I was wrong not to trust you. It was my fault for not protecting you. I'll send the cup for testing right now. You're just angry with me, right? How could that poor guy ever be worthy of you? Irritated, I glared at him, about to tell him to leave, but then I suddenly remembered that in my previous life, He had also shifted all the blame to Jolie after the incident, using it to portray himself as deeply in love with me. Jolie ended up wrongly imprisoned. No, this time I couldn't let Jolie get hurt in any way, so I suppressed my disgust and lowered my eyes. But you cheated, why do you still care what I do? I wanted to lower Qingjingye's guard to get close enough to find evidence of his false testimony. Qingjingye still thought I was the naive young lady. His eyes lit up immediately. Cece, I knew you were just upset with me. Last night felt so strange. Plus being upset about your cheating. Otherwise I would never have ended up with that mechanic. I steered the topic towards the drugged milk. But just as I finished speaking, the sound of shattering glass came from the door. Damn it, Jolie must have heard and misunderstood. 03. I couldn't worry about anything else. I grabbed a jacket and ran after him. The SUV sped away dangerously fast down the mountain road, leaving only a trail of exhaust fumes behind. I rushed to the garage and drove after him, being too anxious and with too many curves on the mountain road. I didn't manage the throttle well and crashed into a guardrail. I screamed. Covering my head, the car barely hung on. My forehead throbbed painfully from hitting the airbag. Terrified, I shakily called the police and then dialed Jolie. Once I called, I regretted it. I was too scared, forgetting he was angry and probably didn't want to deal with me. But he answered immediately. Hello. Hearing his voice, I burst into tears. Jolie, I had a car accident. I think I'm going to die. His initially indifferent voice instantly turned anxious. Get out of the car and move to a safe location. I'm coming to get you right now. Jolie arrived even before the police. He informed my assistant to handle the situation and took me directly to the hospital. Fortunately, there were no serious injuries. The doctor said it was just minor abrasions and a concussion. Feeling like I had narrowly escaped disaster, I clung to Jolie's arm and refused to let go. Jolie's face remained stern. He was so serious. Completely different from the affectionate way he called me good girl and kissed me last night. Let go. No. How can the doctor treat you if you don't let go? Jolie, then you hold me while applying it. That's against the rules. He spoke with a tone that was all business. I immediately felt tears welling up in my eyes. The doctor gave Jolie a stern look, annoyed. What's the matter with you, young man? Your girlfriend has just been frightened and needs comforting. Instead, you're upsetting her even more. I'm not her. Woo, Jolie, you change your tune as soon as you get out of bed, but that's not what you said yesterday. Feeling aggrieved, I complained loudly. The doctor looked at him with a disdainful expression reserved for scoundrels. Jolie sighed in resignation as he saw my tears. My ancestor, I really owe you. The doctor, acting like someone who had seen it all, started lecturing Jolie. Young man, your girlfriend has eyes only for you. She loves you so much. You should cherish her. Don't be so impatient with girls. Look at your girlfriend's delicate arms and legs. She obviously doesn't have much strength. You need to protect her. I felt a bit guilty and blinked sheepishly. From Jolie's perspective, I probably seemed like the scoundrel who'd turn her back on someone after getting her way. I'll remember that. Thank you. Jolie didn't argue but nodded in agreement. He silently lowered his rolled-up shirt sleeve when the doctor handed him the bill. Jolie's forearm was covered in red marks from where I had scratched him the night before. After treating my wounds, the doctor suggested I stay in the hospital for observation. Jolie completed the formalities and was about to leave. Don't worry. The caretaker will be here at 5 tomorrow morning. I jumped out of the hospital bed without even putting on slippers, blocking the doorway with my arms spread. Jolie, I'm scared to sleep alone. I'm frightened. He looked down at me with a subdued voice. Miss, I'm just a car mechanic. I can't get involved in your love games. Jolie, last night was my choice, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I didn't deceive you. The reason I said those insincere things today was to trick Qingjingye into revealing if he drugged me. After all, you can never be too careful with such underhanded tactics. That was my strategy. I was just worried about a misunderstanding between us. That's why I rushed to explain, don't you think? If I was using you, why would I be so anxious to explain, right? I hurriedly finished speaking, cautiously looking at Jolie. He remained silent, his emotions hidden in the depths of his eyes. Nervously, I bit my lip and added, Jolie, please don't misunderstand me. Okay. The cold tiles made me curl my toes. In the next instant, Jolie picked me up. The floor is cold. I clung to him like a koala, my legs tightly wrapped around his waist. He still cares about me after all. Jolie, please, stay with me tonight. I was really scared today. I blinked pitifully, trying to garner some sympathy. Miss, you really weren't sober last night. We can pretend it never happened. As for the truth and the purpose, you don't need to stoop to explain it to me. As expected, he still didn't quite believe me, so I had to pull out all the stops. I kept his face, tilting mine to look him in the eyes. Jolie, I like you. I could feel Jolie's muscles tense up all over. His eyelashes fluttered slightly, and his breathing became choppy for a few seconds. Come on, don't play games with me. Resolved, I reached down. Jolie, I'm very sober now, and you clearly like me too. Don't you? I feigned innocence and curved my lips, poking him with my fingertip. Jolie, don't lie. Your body is much harder than your words. His Adam's apple bobbed, and fine sweat appeared on Jolie's forehead. Come on, you're the one who provoked me. Whether you're sincere or not, I won't let you go again. I kissed his lips. I just want to be with you. Before I could finish, he pinned me down on the couch, like a wild beast out of control. He moved tirelessly. Be gentle, please, jerk. Ow, please, be gentle. Sweat dripped and heat rose. Jolie ignored my protests, his voice husky in my ear. Yeah, I'm a jerk, but this jerk loves you. Is this all? There's worse to come. Do you want to see? Come on, open your eyes. Jolie gripped my jaw, forcing me to look in the mirror. It was too embarrassing. My face flushed, and as I tried to hide, he pressed me even closer. Jolie, you jerk. Stop, hurry up and stop. He held me by the waist with such strength it felt like he could crush my bones. The ceiling above spun. The crystal chandelier shook so fast it blurred. I was at a loss for words, tears of pain escaping from the corners of my eyes. He bent down, biting and licking my shoulder and neck, his voice rough. Poor thing. But this is the punishment a little liar deserves. Also, a little liar doesn't have the right to stop under my persistent soft and hard tactics. Jolie became my personal caretaker, looking after me 24 hours a day in the hospital. I knew my changes were too sudden for Jolie, hard for him to accept at once. After all, a young miss who never had anything to do with him suddenly clinging to the family's mechanic was bound to seem odd to anyone. Still, Jolie wasn't used to expressing his love in front of me yet, but that's okay. Although he still appeared indifferent, he no longer resisted my closeness. He even crawled into bed to hold me whenever I had a nightmare. On the day of my discharge, Qingjingye came with the police. He looked much worn out, apparently troubled by his inability to find a scapegoat. Cece, why didn't you tell me you were sick? I've been looking for you for a long time. Did this mechanic hide you away? Don't be afraid, I'm coming to rescue you, I said. This Jolie is just trying to cling to you. That day, he was the one who drugged you. This poor guy is really crazy about money, not even considering his own status while dreaming of marrying into a wealthy family. Jolie's fists tightened, and when he looked at me, his eyes were filled with silence. He seemed to not believe that I would trust him. My heart clenched, and I firmly grabbed his wrist, interlocking our fingers one by one until our hands were fully clasped. Under Jolie's astonished gaze, I seriously said, "You mean that night in the garage?" It was just a bit of marital fun. My husband's in such good shape, I couldn't help myself. What's wrong? Can't we play a bit in our own car? As for the drugging, what evidence do you have to prove my husband did it? Qingjingye's face turned as dark as the bottom of a pot, looking at me as if seeing a madwoman. Cece, why are you speaking up for this mechanic? I am your fiancé. Don't be mad at me. I really realize my mistake now. Right, the inspection report. I just got this report and haven't opened it yet. It's the best proof. Qingjingye handed me the report eagerly, as if placing all his hopes on it. Cece, you must have been deceived by him. Only I truly care about you. Once you see the mechanic's true colors, can we go back to how things were? I won't blame you for being momentarily confused, I scoffed coldly, calmly tearing open the report and displaying it for everyone to see. Oops, the fingerprints on the cup are all your own. Aren't they? Impossible. He froze in place, visibly panicking. I continued flipping through the report. Ah, not only yours but also my cousin's. I handed the report to the police, my smile deepening. Tell me, which one of you is the mastermind and which one the accomplice? After the car accident, I had someone track Qingjingye. I bribed the testing institution ahead of him to present the real results and delayed sending them until the last moment to prevent Qingjingye from opening the report. No, it can't be, Qingjingye roared unwillingly. But before he could start making excuses to me, the police took him away. I sighed in relief and handed the suitcase to Jolie. Let's go home. Jolie did not take the suitcase but just stood there. I hesitated for a moment, then turned to look at him. What's wrong? With a slight movement in his eyes, Jolie leaned down and kissed me. It was a long, delicate kiss. I could feel his overwhelming emotions. Rongshi. What did you just call me in front of them? He caressed my cheek, his voice husky. Baby, say it again, husband. I had initially called him that in front of the police to show my support and trust for Jolie. Now, as he coaxed me to say it again, my face turned red with shyness. Jolie held me tighter, burying his head in my neck and gently rubbing against it like an insecure big dog. Jolie, you believe now that I really like you, right, no matter what happens. I will always stand by your side. I stroked his buzz cut, whispering softly, Rongshi, don't lie to me. He bit my collarbone hard as if stamping it. I would die. Later, I headed straight to my father's office. After being blackmailed by Qing Jingye with compromising photos in my previous life, I endured silently for the sake of my family and company. I'm not one to easily submit to others. I'd rather go down fighting than be a stepping stone for the wicked. I wasn't afraid of rumors and even considered leaking the photos myself to get ahead of the situation. However, at that time, I still hadn't seen the true colors of my family. I was afraid that my scandal would drag down the company's stock price and destroy what my mother had worked for her entire life. I couldn't bear to see lower-level employees suffer, facing pay cuts or layoffs due to company issues. Thus, I alone endured inhuman torment while publicly playing the role of a loving wife to Qing Jingye. Over those years, I was always looking for an opportunity to turn the tables, but just when I finally found solid evidence of Qing Jingye's infidelity and corruption, my father confined me to the attic at home and banned any media from publishing my submissions. It turned out he had been complicit from the start. He resented having to ingratiate himself with my mother for years, who left all her shares to me when she died, and resented not being respected by the board, with everyone looking only to me for leadership, so he conspired with Qing Jingye to gradually usurp my shares, promote his illegitimate daughter, and eventually consolidate power in his own hands. By then, Qing Jingye had marginalized me for years. I was powerless, and even upon learning the truth, I couldn't fight back. Overwhelmed with anger, I vomited blood incessantly. In the end, I took my mocking stepsister with me as I fell from the attic, dying a gruesome death. This time, I planned to distance myself early from this cold-blooded family. Dad, you wouldn't want your precious daughter to end up in jail, would you? I straightforwardly slammed a surveillance tape on the table, my smile grim. What do you mean? My father's face paled. Your illegitimate daughter Lin Cece, in cahoots with Qing Jingye, drugged me. You know about this, right? Now, all evidence points to them. And they can't escape. The only way is to have one of them take all the blame. I glanced at Lin Cece's ashen face and smirked. Besides the surveillance, I have plenty of evidence against you. Worst case, I could also sign a settlement agreement with you. But tell me, if I hand these over to Qing Jingye, what choice do you think he'll make? Lin Cece suddenly stood up, her expression rigid. Impossible. Don't try to sow discord. Brother Qing Jingye wouldn't do this to me. He already said that if there's no other way, he'd choose to turn himself in to protect me. Really? I smirked playfully, turning to my father. I just informed Qing Jingye about this situation. I guess he must be restless by now. Sure enough, as soon as I finished speaking, Lin Cece's phone started ringing wildly. See, Brother Qing Jingye cares about me. He always checks if I've eaten at this time. He wouldn't act as you said. She spoke anxiously, suppressing the unease in her heart. Hello, Brother Qing. Cece, listen to me. I love you. But now, Rongshi has solid evidence against us. Instead of both of us going down, isn't it better if only one of us does? You want me to take the blame for you? Lin Cece burst into tears, incredulously asking him, Cece, please help me. Trust me. I will find a way to get you out. And besides, you don't understand anything. Only I can manage the company well so we have a chance to fight back. Qing Jingye was still trying to brainwash Lin Cece, while my father, already furious, cursed out loud. So this is how you treat my daughter. My father had never liked me. Pouring all his paternal love into Lin Cece, he had agreed to collaborate with Qing Jingye because, this was largely because he valued his feelings for Lin Cece. Now, the facade of hypocrisy has been completely torn apart. What? Dad, you're there too. Dad, listen to me explain. I did it for the greater good. My dad snatched the phone and threw it away, panting heavily. He comforted Lin Cece, who was crying her eyes out. Don't worry, I won't let you go to jail. President Lin, please make an offer. Seeing the deep affection between father and daughter, I turned my face away. Whatever you want, I'll satisfy. As long as you're willing to sign a settlement agreement with Cece, President Lin is generous. I raised my eyebrows in satisfaction and handed him a contract. I will transfer all my shares in the company to you. You just need to cash them out for me. Also, I want to take all of my mother's belongings. and of course, the houses and cars she left me in her will. Add 30 million as hush money, family rate, you know. Chimjingye even agreed to give me 35 million, and lastly, please sign this agreement to sever the father-daughter relationship. I handed the pen to my dad with a smile. My dad prided himself as an untapped talent but was actually just an arrogant fool, handing the company over to them. It was bound to fail. After my mom's death, there was severe turmoil in the company's upper management. It wasn't as easy to manage as it seemed. In my previous life, I continuously cleaned up their messes, pulling the company back from the brink of bankruptcy numerous times. This time, I won't help these ingrates anymore, and with that incident, I've already shaken their alliance of three. Chimjingye, a profit-seeking scumbag, will surely cause trouble in the future to expand his power. The company's bankruptcy was just a matter of time, so, let whoever wants to manage this mess take it. I just want to cash out now while the market is good and make a big score. As for this man who doesn't deserve to be a father, I couldn't care less. You don't want the company shares. My dad paused, curiosity in his eyes. I used to value the shares the most, vowing to protect my mom's company. Isn't this exactly what you want? I smiled and pretended to pull back the contract in front of him. If you think there's a problem, you don't have to sign. But I wonder when your illegitimate daughter will be able to enter the company openly. Lin Cece quickly pressed down on the contract, whispering in my dad's ear. Sister must have realized that no one loves her. And she's been so shocked that her mind isn't right. Plus, she found out we were going to harm her. She must be scared and thinking of running away. Dad, doesn't this save us trouble? With the shares, the company is yours, and I rightfully become the young lady. I smiled non-committally and admired. Sister is clever. After much hesitation, my dad still signed the contract. I left the rest to the lawyers and went to my room to pack, due to the numerous affairs that needed to be handled and my eagerness to sever ties with my dad. I stayed in the study for a week without coming downstairs. When everything was settled, I found out that Jolie had already moved out. When did he leave? I frowned. I thought my recent confession had dispelled Jolie's concerns. On Tuesday, the butler received his resignation. My assistant said respectfully. I massaged my temples, beginning to reflect on myself. Could it be that I've been too busy and neglected him? Miss, we found the address. Do you need a driver to take you there? I thought for a moment. Slyly, he said, just drop me off at the intersection and find me some cheap clothes. I arrived at a rental house using the address on my phone. After knocking on the door and getting no response, I crouched down by the door and applied a distressed makeup look to myself. As the sky gradually darkened, I stood up, restless, and started pacing around the house, muttering to myself, why hasn't Jolie come home yet? He's not even answering his phone. Hey, pretty girl, who are you waiting for? It's so lonely late at night. Why don't we keep you company? You're so beautiful. Which bar do you work at? A few thugs whistled as they entered the alley, eyeing me lecherously. I stretched my limbs, my gaze falling on some beer bottles in the corner. Just as I was about to teach them a lesson, I heard familiar footsteps. Jolie appeared under the street lamp, holding a plastic bag. The light outlined his chiseled features and deep, dark eyes. I immediately sat down and started crying. Don't come over here. What am I going to do all by myself? Boo-hoo. Thinking I was scared, the lead thug grew bolder. But as he reached out his hand, it was met with a tremendous force that snapped his wrist. The sound of breaking bones was unmistakable. Jolie flung him to the ground, grinding his face under his shoe. Want to touch her? Murderous intent filled his eyes, his tone menacing and oppressive, lowering the air pressure around us. Try it if you're not afraid of dying. The thugs were instantly terrified, scrambling away as fast as they could. I stood up and threw myself into his arms. Jolie, that was really dangerous. That's why you should never leave me. I could easily get hurt. I looked up at him earnestly. Jolie pinched my cheek and chuckled. Sweetheart, I know you can handle yourself. What? No, I can't. You must be mistaken. I denied flatly. I taught you myself. Jolie added leisurely. Me, hee hee. The moon tonight really does look like the moon. I laughed awkwardly, shifting my gaze. Jolie chuckled but didn't expose my act further. He led me inside and put the vegetables in the fridge. The rental was small and sparsely furnished. Sit down for a while. I'll make us something to eat. You should head back early after dinner. It's not safe around here late at night. I sniffled, squeezing out a couple of tears. I told you. I'm homeless now. My dad kicked me out. And now you're sending me away too, husband. Jolie's expression darkened as he saw the news of my dad disowning me. Don't cry, sweetheart. I'll take care of you. Then why did you move out secretly? Boo-hoo. That's too much. Tell me, don't you want me anymore? Boo-hoo. I can't go on. I just got you, and now you're slipping away. Jolie put down the ingredients he was handling and scooped me back into his arms, soothing me gently, my dear. How could I ever bear to let you go? I sat astride his lap, wrapping my arms around his neck, speaking indignantly. Then why did you move here? I've started a business, but I've encountered some problems and my funds are limited, so I have to keep things simple. I didn't want you to suffer with me, so I thought we should live apart for a while. I didn't tell you because there wasn't a chance yet. You've been busy lately. I didn't want to worry you with my issues. So I planned to wait until the company's profits stabilized before sharing the news with you. My involvement accelerated Jolie's venture. With a sense of serendipity, I gently persuaded, why did you suddenly decide to start a business? I thought you said you wanted to be my driver for life. Jolie's ears turned a faint red. After a moment, he looked down at me, my dear, it's because I want to marry you. Jolie always believed that the best thing a man could do when he is not capable of making a woman happy is to not disturb her. She came from a wealthy family, outstanding in both looks and background. He clearly wasn't a match for her. Due to his insecurities, he never dared to reveal his feelings. Jolie had been secretly building his business, dreaming of the day he could stand by her side, in his past life. Just as Jolie's business was starting to improve, the Rong family announced their eldest daughter's engagement. Upon learning that she had a fiancé of equal social status, he felt bitter and heartbroken, but he wished her well more than anything. Because Jolie wasn't completely sure of his success in business, he chose to bury his unrequited love completely. He could endure hardship, but he couldn't let she suffer with him. In Jolie's heart, she deserved a carefree life forever, but in this life, due to she's rebirth, his dream princess took the initiative to confess her feelings to him. Jolie told himself that this was just a game she was playing to spite her fiancé, just a whim of the moment, but his heart had already completely fallen. With one word from her calling him husband, all his remaining rationality was burned away. Even if it was fake, it didn't matter. Jolie just wanted to keep her by his side, so he began to work day and night, praying that this dream would never end. The tall man was now nervously unable to lift his head, looking at Jolie, who was completely devoted to me. My eyes welled up with tears. In the previous life, he alone had stormed into my wake and stolen my broken body. He held me, knelt on one knee, and put a ring on my finger. Those hands, skilled at precisely controlling racing cars, trembled uncontrollably. He said, I should have been more selfish, Rongshi. I should have taken you away sooner. I wiped away tears, my voice unsteady. Jolie, you coward, you love me so much. You've always thought about marrying me. Why didn't you say it? He bent his fingers, wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes, and whispered, Rongshi, I didn't dare. I just love you too much, my dear. Please forgive me. Jolie kissed her lips, twining and sucking fiercely at her tongue as his possessiveness surged unrestrained. He pressed my back tightly against him, so much so that I could clearly feel Jolie's heart thumping heavily against his chest, numbing me with its force. Rongshi had no idea. For Jolie, every look they shared was an embrace, and every kiss was a tsunami. That evening, I curled up under the blanket, waiting to be fed. Jolie, wearing nothing but an apron, sat on the edge of the bed, feeding me bite by bite. Because of his leaning forward, his firm chest muscles squeezed together, looking even more appealing to touch, I gazed at him with longing, acting coquettishly. Jolie, why not just take it off? You're sweating, and it's quite warm in this room. Jolie had just come out of the shower, wearing only a pair of loose gray pants, with a white towel casually draped over his shoulder. Droplets of water slid down, tracing his muscular lines to the waistband of his pants, making the damp pants outline his form more distinctly. He looked both lazy and tempting, stirring desires. Then I told him I was too hungry, urging Jolie to cook without bothering to dress. The bare apron indeed added a unique flavor to the scene, but it didn't stop me from wanting more. Jolie brought the spoon to my lips, frowning. What time is it? And you're still not eating properly. Have you forgotten about your bad stomach? I've eaten quite a bit already. I'm not very hungry now. I couldn't resist touching his hand. Jolie's fingers were long, with veins prominent on the backs and a light callus on the fingertips that tingled against the skin. Jolie put down the bowl and gently pressed on my stomach. Under my puzzled gaze, he nodded. Yes, you're full. My eyes lit up, full of anticipation. Then you can take off the apron. There's no need for it when washing dishes. Right. Jolie met my gaze, chuckled softly. Sweetheart, if you want to see my abs, you can just say so. He untied his apron and tossed it aside, watching me with a smile. It's not that. I'm just not hungry anymore. Just reminding you to take off your apron. Blushing, I hid under the blanket. Next, he grabbed my ankles and pulled me under him. Caught off guard, I looked at him in shock. Jolie, what are you doing? Jolie pressed down tightly, whispering into my ear with heavy breaths, sweetheart, you've had your meal. Now it's my turn. Unable to withstand my tears and tantrums, Jolie agreed to move in with me into a rental place to share our joys and sorrows. I gave all the contacts and funds I had saved to Jolie's company. With my help, his company developed very quickly. At the same time, I released the evidence of Lynn Cece's wrongdoing against me. Faced with my father's furious scolding, I just smiled. I agreed to sign the understanding agreement, but I never agreed to help you destroy the evidence. Blame yourselves for being too foolish. The company's reputation declined, suffering losses year after year. At this critical moment, I publicly released evidence of my father's incompetence and collusion with outsiders, and conducted a live broadcast. As a victim, I expressed my condemnation of the irresponsible management and my sympathy and understanding for the employees. As you all can see the condition of the company, I am deeply saddened as the former manager. And I hope everyone takes the opportunity to make a choice while you can still receive a salary. Public opinion exploded again. Many employees chose to resign and leave the company, which completely lost its vitality. Jolie took the opportunity to offer high salaries to attract many technical experts, taking his business to the next level. My father, having no other choice, the only option left was to marry Lynn Cece off in an arranged marriage, so I created a dazzling overseas returnee identity for a professional con artist, borrowing his black card and luxury car for the act. Within 2 months, Lynn Cece was convinced she had stumbled upon a wealthy expat heir. My father was thoroughly duped by the con artist, clinging to him as a lifeline, eager to secure a wealthy son-in-law. My father was even tricked into agreeing to give away 15% of his company shares as Lynn Cece's dowry. Just like that, I effortlessly reclaimed the shares I had previously given away. However, on the day of the wedding, the groom vanished from the scene. Enraged, my father suffered a heart attack relapse and was hospitalized. Coincidentally, Qing Jingye, who was imprisoned 2 years earlier for intentional assault, was released on medical parole that very day. On his way to the hospital, he happened to pass by the hotel where Lynn Cece's wedding was being held. Hearing about the company's downfall and seeing Lynn Cece getting married to someone else drove him mad, and he dashed out of the car. Lynn Cece, you traitor, it was you and your father who promised me the shares once I got out, and I took the fall for you. You know how miserably I lived inside, and here you are, about to marry a rich guy and fly high. Why do I end up with nothing while you reap all the benefits? Go to hell. Ignoring the police, he stormed into the wedding hall with a knife and stabbed Lynn Cece to death. He ended up receiving the death penalty himself. With scandals erupting and the CEO critically ill, the company was completely ruined. I contacted former colleagues and acquired the company at a very low price, becoming once again the major shareholder. On the day of Lynn Cece's burial, I deliberately took my father to her grave. Infuriated, he frothed at the mouth, struggling in his wheelchair, his gaunt fingers pointing accusingly at me. I watched quietly as he fell to the ground, laughing. Dad, or rather, should I call you Uncle now? Uncle, why do you think a pure-hearted rich heir insisted on marrying Lynn Cece just when you were short of money? Guess why Qing Jingye knew about Lynn Cece's wedding day? And why did the rich heir choose a wedding venue on the must-pass route to the hospital? How come the moment Qing Jingye got out of the car and eluded the police, there just happened to be a knife in front of him? My father convulsed, his throat making broken bellows sounds. He tried to stand with all his might but to no avail. I bent down, smiling. Right, isn't it strange? How come there was a knife in the bride's resting room? My father's hands flailed wildly in the air, and the heart rate monitor started beeping alarmingly. Medical personnel rushed forward, lifting him into an ambulance. I wiped away non-existent tears, mournfully saying, please make sure to cure my father. Once the dust settled, I began to reorganize the company. Years of neglect had allowed deep-rooted problems to surface fully. I undertook sweeping reforms, committed to fulfilling my mother's unfinished dreams. After a period of intense overtime, I finally took a break to visit Jolie. Last year, Jolie's company went public. He became the youngest CEO on the billionaires list, holding a small cake. I was about to push open his office door when I heard a delicate female voice. President Zhou, I followed your orders to deliver a wreath yesterday, but I saw President Rong abusing his own father. It shows that President Rong's previously pitiful and magnanimous image is all fake. President, you must be very careful. I tensed up, my hand on the doorknob freezing. I had never told Jolie about what happened in my previous life. Would he think I was too ruthless? Fake. Jolie scoffed coldly. Isn't it normal for you to see a fake side, the real one, she only shows to me? President, I was just worried about you being deceived. Wrong, she is my wife, who are you to judge her? So what if she deceives me? Why would she deceive me and not others? Get out, you're fired. Following a furious shout, a girl ran out sobbing. I smiled, pleased, and sat sideways on Jolie's lap. I hear someone thinks I'm deceiving you. Jolie looked down and kissed my lips. Chuckling, do you even need to deceive me? Isn't playing with me as easy as playing with a dog for you? I blushed and glared at him. Nonsense, I've never deceived you. Jolie affectionately ruffled my hair, whispering close to my ear in a husky voice, sweetheart, what I mean is, I'm your little dog, I only listen to you. Desire spread with his hot breath, his sultry voice and sweet nothings completely swept me off my feet. By the time I came to my senses, I was already pushed against the office desk, papers and pens clattered to the floor. Jolie leaned over me, biting my lip slowly. Good boy, the puppy wants a reward, I moaned softly, weakly pushing him away. The cake, we haven't eaten the cake yet, it's going to melt. Jolie chuckled softly, his eyes filled with desire. All right, let's have the cake. He slowly untied the pink ribbon from the cake box and meticulously wrapped it